Hey truckers, today we're seeing Crazy Detective Part 4. Let's dive into the video. I'm here to investigate, not to take evidence. Zhao Yu spoke bluntly. Why would I need gloves? Don't worry, your daughter's not Sherlock Holmes. She won't notice. As he finished, he ignored the old woman's protesting and grabbed one of the book off of the shelf. The book was about anesthesia. Zhao Yu flipped through a few pages and saw that there were many notes in the margin. Li Dan's handwriting was elegant and clean, with little flaws. Just from a quick glance, you would be able to tell that she was someone who was very careful and methodical. Zhao Yu flipped through a few other books, and they were all similarly marked. He could not help but ask the woman standing in the doorway, "Does your daughter study medicine? How come she has so many books related to medicine?" None at all. The elderly responded assuredly, but many years ago, she worked at a veterinarian office, and it was a pretty famous one too. Dandan was their assistant. So she probably learned some stuff when she worked there. What? Pet hospital? Veterinary store? Zhao Yu exclaimed inside his head. He was shocked with every new discovery he made. The anesthesia that the culprit of the lost hand case used was a medicine intended for animals, and the source of the medicine was from veterinarian offices. This can't be a coincidence anymore, right? Could it be this Li Dan? Zhao Yu thought. He put down the book and scanned across the entire room. For some reason, he kept wondering there was something more important in the room. Old lady. Zhao Yu thought for a while, then asked, "Does your house have internet?" "Yeah." She responded, "I don't use it, but my daughter does." "What about computer? Do you have one?" "My daughter has a laptop that she brings with her everywhere." "It's not here." Then, Zhao Yu pointed at the room. "She doesn't have a writing desk in the room. How does she usually use her computer?" "While lying in bed?" "Yeah, she works while lying in bed." The old lady withheld nothing, not only to use the computer, but if my daughter is reading or writing, she usually does it while lying in bed. "Oh right, under her mattress, she had a lot of papers. I often see her writing, and also there were also a bunch of photos." "Oh." Zhao Yu nodded, but suddenly realized what she had said. "What? What did you say? Under the mattress?" Zhao Yu was shocked and his eyes bulged as he asked, What's written on it?" I don't know. I only saw it a few times by accident. My daughter doesn't even know that I know. She usually kneels on the bed frame and writes very seriously. I only saw through the door crack." The old lady stumbled over her words in fear, and did not know what she should say. "Ah." Zhao Yu spoke no more, and took large strides over towards the front of the bed, extending his hands to flip up the mattress and the bed covers. "Officer!" The old lady was stunned, and rushed in to block Zhao Yu. "My daughter is germophobic. Please don't move the bed. My daughter's eyes are sharp, so no matter how you do it, she will be able to tell." "Old lady!" Zhao Yu yelled in agitation, "Don't you understand the situation we're in? You're still thinking about your daughter's germophobic tendencies. I'll let you know, the things your daughter's been writing might affect her life, and you want to stop me?" Seeing Zhao Yu so agitated, the elderly woman finally realized something serious was happening and reluctantly let go of Zhao Yu's shoulder, retreating back to the entrance of the room. Zhao Yu grabbed the corner of the bed cover and in one quick motion, flipped the entire bed cover high into the air. After lifting the cover, what he saw on the bed frame shocked Zhao Yu. On the flat surface of the bed frame, there were indeed sheets of white papers taped together. The white papers had many words written on them. Among them, there were also many pictures, drawings, and even printed and copied documents. What was in front of him was exactly like the analysis whiteboard back at the police station, but this was even more detailed and elaborate than his analysis board. The volume of information that Li Dan's papers contained was much greater than anything the police had. Holy sh*t. At that moment, Zhao Yu's heart went crazy. He could feel his body boiling with adrenaline. Just from the photos on the white sheet, without looking closely at the writing, he could completely and surely say that the girl genius, Li Dan, was the culprit of the lost hand case. Discover EU chapters at novelby.co. On the sheet was Gao Tian, Yuan Lily, and Luo Meina's pictures. Beside their pictures was all their information noted down with a black marker. Clearly, Li Dan had done very detailed research on them. Zhao Yu folded up the bed cover and put it aside, then carefully looked for where the white paper started. He saw that below Gao Tian's photo was a printed version of black-and-white photo showing a ventilation duct. Below the pictures was also detailed information describing the date, position, and MUC more. All of the information perfectly matched the Gao Tian's case file. One could tell that Gao Tian's hand had definitely been chopped off by Li Dan. My God! Zhao Yu flipped through the information and realized he had connected all of the points of the lost hand case. When he finally understood Li Dan's modus operandi, he was stunned yet again. Li Dan's plans were detailed to the point of being insane. It was the perfect crime. She had been planning her attacks months before they happened. Using Gao Tian as an example, Li Dan knew that Gao Tian would come to Qinshan to listen to the music concert, and even knew her seat number. She even knew that once the concert was over, Gao Tian would definitely use that underground tunnel, and that the tunnel had no surveillance cameras inside. Because Gao Tian's seat was near the front, she would be at the end of the line as the audience members left. Zhao Yu estimated that Li Dan had probably also bought a ticket to the show, and followed Gao Tian afterwards. Once the concert was over and Gao Tian entered the tunnel, Li Dan knocked her out while no one was paying attention, then dragged her into the power distribution room in the tunnel. Li Dan used anesthesia, then she chopped Gao Tian's hand off. The most insane thing was that after the crime, Li Dan did not flee in a hurry, but went to the ventilation room on the other side of the tunnel. The ventilation room helped circulate airflow for the gymnasium and led to many other places. Li Dan waited there until dawn, then crawled into the tunnel. Using a pre-planned route, she escaped through the exit near the cleaning department. She had left exactly as the sanitation workers were going to work. She had prepared a uniform ahead of time and exited when there were many people leaving the gymnasium. No matter how good the police officers checking the surveillance were, they would never be able to notice her. The most insane thing was that in order not to raise suspicion on the surveillance camera, she even brought a container of preservative fluid and hid Gao Tian's right hand in there. Only after 2 whole months did she go back and retrieve it. Originally, Chu Ping guessed that the culprit had used alternate routes to escape, but because the ventilation room was locked, she did not investigate there. How could she have known that Li Dan had obtained the key to the room a few months in advance? Regarding Gao Tian's case, Zhao Yu already felt it was unbelievable. But when he saw the second victim, Yuan Lily's case, he was even more shocked. The second victim of the lost hand case, Yuan Lily, had her hand chopped off while she was sleeping at home. The chances of solving burglary attacks like this were usually quite high, but only Yuan Lily's case was unsolved. There were numerous security cameras in the surrounding district, but there was no sign of any suspects, which had perplexed the police. What method had the culprit used? When Zhao Yu saw Li Dan's detailed plan, he finally realized how she had done it. If the keyword for Gao Tian's case was vent, then the keyword for Yuan Lily's case would be ladder. Last month, Li Dan had taken a retractable ladder and climbed up to the building next to Yuan Lily's house. There was a distance of 5 meters between that building and Yuan Lily's apartment. After the ladder had been set up, it could be placed between the 2 buildings, acting as a bridge. Li Dan had not only meticulously planned her use of the ladder, but had gathered food and water as well, which she had hidden on the rooftop. On April 23, after Li Dan chopped off Gao Tian's hand and left the stadium, she did not return home, but went straight to the district where Yuan Lili stayed. With the help of the morning work crowd, she went to the rooftop and hid there. As she had entered from the unit of another building, and had done so few days ahead, the agents who checked on the security camera did not notice her. Li Dan waited patiently on the rooftop for 3 days until the night of the 25th, where she set up the ladder and climbed over to Yuan Lili's building. The corridor of Yuan Lili's apartment did not have direct access to the rooftop. Li Dan had dropped a rope down to enter the corridor from the window. Yuan Lili stayed on the 3rd floor. Not only had Li Dan duplicated her house key in advance, but she had also planted a listening device in her house months in advance. Therefore, she had already known that Yuan Lili would be home alone that night. Li Dan's next steps were the same as with Gao Tian. First, she knocked out victim, then gave her anesthesia, and finally chopped off her hand. After chopping off Yuan Lili's hand, Li Dan kept the listening device, and damaged the door lock on purpose to create a false impression of forced entry. Discover EU chapters at novelby.co. Thereafter, she climbed back to the rooftop using the rope, and returned to the neighboring building using the ladder. What happened next made Zhao Yu's hair stand on end. In order not to be caught by the security camera, Li Dan hid on the corner of the rooftop and stayed there for a week with Yuan Lili's chopped hand. Zhao Yu would never have imagined that when the police had been investigating Yuan Lili's case, the culprit was hiding on the rooftop of the next building. Li Dan's confidence and boldness were on a completely different level. During that time, there were police officers who checked the rooftop of Yuan Lili's apartment, but since Li Dan was hiding in the corner of the neighboring building, she had not been discovered. It was only after 1 week that Li Dan went downstairs and left the district. The ladder was removed from the rooftop after a long period of time. From duplicating the key to planting the listening device, followed by preparing the ladder and food, and then finally committing the crime, the whole process took several months. The meticulousness of Li Dan's plan made one speechless. When she was hiding at the rooftop, she had even prepared a waste bucket to collect her own waste, and did not leave a single trace. Such a carefully planned crime had made it impossible for the police to investigate. Moreover, the motive of the crime was unclear, resulting in the case being unsolved for a long time. Looking at the information before him, Zhao Yu felt perplexed once again. Li Dan's modus operandi, her meticulousness, and her endurance was a precise reflection of her deep hatred for the victims. To exact her revenge, she had created the perfect crime, but if Li Dan was doing this on behalf of herself, could she be overly blinded by her own hatred? There was probably only one person behind her injury during the piano competition. Did she really have to take revenge on so many people? Did she have to chop off the hands of all the competitors in top 10 positions? At that point, Zhao Yu was not in the mood to find out Li Dan's plan for Luo Mena. He looked at the end of the document to look for Li Dan's other targets. Who would it be this time? Once he found his answer, Zhao Yu was astonished once again. Other than the 3 victims, there was detailed information of another person on the paper. This person was likely to be Li Dan's next target. The photo was of a stylish and very tall woman. Beside the woman's photo was a printed document, and there was a black and white photo on the document. Zhao Yu took a glance and suddenly felt nervous. The photo was actually of a tall burial mound. In front of the burial mound was a black gravestone. The strange thing was that there was a big hole caved between the gravestone and the burial mound. What does this mean? What does a grave have to do with Li Dan's plan? What does she want to do? Zhao Yu wondered. He quickly looked at the information below the photo. He had thought that Li Dan's next target would be Li Xinhua, whom he and Li Beinei had predicted. However, the information did not show Li Xinhua, but a woman named Xiao Jiaying. Zhao Yu did not recall such a person on the competitors list. What is this? Doubtful, Zhao Yu continued reading and understood why. The information showed the woman named Xiao Jiaying was a female entrepreneur in international trade and had moved to Australia. Oh! So it's her. Zhao Yu suddenly realized that Xiao Jiaying was actually Xiao Lulu, and that Xiao Lulu had placed third in the grand piano competition. The information that Li Beinei had gotten showed that after the competition, Xiao Lulu was the first to be accepted by the National Conservatory of Folk Music and later to study abroad. After that, she started a business in musical equipment and became a well-known entrepreneur. It had been smooth sailing for her, and she was indeed very successful. Don't tell me, she is Li Dan's next target? Zhao Yu tried to suppress his inner agitation and read on. He quickly realized there was no information on other people behind Xiao Jiaying. There was nothing on Li Xinhua, and also nothing on the champion that year, Lu Tao. Was Li Dan planning to wait until next year to exact her revenge, or did she think that those two people were not her enemies, so there was no need for revenge? Wait! Zhao Yu seemed to have realized something. He quickly turned back and looked carefully at the document with the gravestone photo. Although the words on the gravestone were not clear, the caved-in hole in the middle of the grave was very clear. After he read the general meaning of the document, he was startled. Holy **T. It's actually like this? This is gonna be terrible. Police officer. What's up? The elderly woman saw Zhao Yu's reaction and was excited and nervous. She asked as she stood by the door, "Are these the things you needed? My daughter is a good person. You have to protect her well." Zhao Yu was still in a state of shock and confusion as he ignored the woman's inquiry. Not only did he carefully read the document with the photo of the grave, but he also made sure to read through all the information regarding Xiao Lulu. As with the last few cases, Li Dan had already done extensive research and planning for her next act. The place with the collapsed grave was the key to her current plan. As it turned out, the person in the grave on the document was Xiao Lulu's father. Her father had passed away many years ago due to a sudden illness. Returning to his roots, his body was buried in his family's ancestral graves. Had Li Dao dared to alter the grave? Earlier, she dug a hole in the grave, then forged an official document and sent it to Xiao Lulu. The document said that Xiao Lulu's father's grave had unexpectedly collapsed for no apparent reason. It asked for family members to promptly return to take care of it. Xiao Lulu's mother remarried early, and Xiao Lulu's father had taken care of her Xiao Lulu ever since. All those years of learning piano, she had always been accompanied by her father. The relationship between the two was also very strong. Hearing that her father's grave had been disturbed, Xiao Lulu would obviously come rushing back, no matter how busy she was in order to take care of it. Li Dan had planned everything ahead of time. Even though Xiao Lulu still had relatives in Qinshan, their relationships had never been good. Li Dan knew that Xiao Lulu would definitely not ask those relatives to help her. Also, the anniversary of Xiao Lulu's father's passing would be in a few days. No matter what, she would come back to pay her respects. Since there were issues with her father's gravesite, she would obviously attend to it herself, and would also arrive early. Li Dan's information was incredibly thorough. Xiao Lulu was still single, with no boyfriend. If she came back to Qinshan to take care of the grave, then her business in Australia was definitely being taken care of by someone else, so she would most likely return to Qinshan alone, which gave Li Dan the perfect chance to put her plan in motion. Yuan Lily had been attacked on April 26 of last year. It was currently April 26, so if Li Dan was going to attack Xiao Lulu, would it be today? Thinking this far, Zhao Yu could not help but inhale heavily. Was it possible that Li Dan had already attacked Xiao Lulu? Had Li Dan already cut off her right hand? Zhao Yu wanted to immediately call Li Baini and tell her everything, but when he pulled out his phone, he realized that he did not even know where Li Dan planned on attacking Xiao Lulu. If they could not find the location of both Li Dan and Xiao Lulu, then there was no way for them to stop Li Dan. Zhao Yu could only keep on reading. Quickly, he found a copy of a plane ticket among the vast amount of information. On the bottom part of the ticket, Li Dan noted the time April 26, 3 o'clock. This was probably the time Xiao Lulu would arrive in Qinshan Airport. But it was already 4:15 now, so Xiao Lulu had already been in Qinshan for more than an hour. Within that hour, a lot of things could happen. Xiao Lulu was in great danger. Zhao Yu continued to read. Other than seeing a picture of something similar to a water gun, there was not any other useful information. No! We can't drag it out anymore. We have to find Xiao Lulu immediately. Zhao Yu cried in his head. Thinking this far, Zhao Yu quickly pulled out his phone and started taking pictures of all of Li Dan's documents. Although he was pressed for time, he figured that was probably more information on the white papers in front of him, so Zhao Yu made sure not to miss a thing as he took pictures. The bed frame was huge. He could not take a picture of everything all at once, and only managed to take the pictures of the papers piece by piece. Due to the angle, Zhao Yu had to kneel on the bed frame to take the picture. Unexpectedly, when he knelt down, a wooden board suddenly sprung up between the two pieces of white paper. Zhao Yu touched it with his hand, and realized that there was a huge box under the bed. Zhao Yu was already in a hurry, he did not even think about it much when he went to pull at the edge of the box. The aged wood made a squeaking sound, and the entire board was flipped open forcefully. Zhao Yu only took a single glance before he hurriedly shut the box again. Not only did he shut the box, but he also pressed the bed frame forcefully onto it. Full 0W current novels on n/o/v/3l/b in .co/m. Holy sh*t. Holy sh*t. Zhao Yu cursed several times to himself before he felt his heart finally slow down. Although he had only taken one glance, Zhao Yu had seen it clearly. Under the board were 3 large glass containers with some sort of mysterious liquid in them. Inside every container was a pale hand. My God! Zhao Yu bit the inside of his mouth. No matter how much he thought, he could never imagine that Li Dan would leave such incriminating evidence in her own house. 3 human hands! Just leaving them under the bed where she slept, she did not even feel a little bit uncomfortable. Suddenly, Zhao Yu remembered his original hypothesis. The reason why the culprit kept the chopped-off hands with them might be similar to the gangsters on the streets. They could look at them at any time and relive the hatred in their hearts. The reason why Zhao Yu closed the box so quickly was not due to fear, but he was worried that Li Dan's mother would see it. If the elderly woman saw them, then the problem would escalate. Thankfully, Zhao Yu was used to these sorts of situations. He forced down his own nervousness and agitation, and feigned calmness as he turned to Li Dan's mother. Old lady, you're right, exactly. As Zhao Yu spoke, he quickly put the bed cover back to place, then covered up all the information. I found some very important information. It will help the police greatly. You have to keep it safe, otherwise your daughter will really be in danger. The elderly woman did not suspect Zhao Yu one bit, and was scared out of her wits. Then, what should I do? Will someone bad come here? Don't worry, I will tell the police right now. Zhao Yu quickly left the room, putting the lock back in place, then warned the elderly woman at the same time. Old lady, in a few minutes, there will be many police officers coming here to get the information. Don't worry. Just make sure to guard the house properly. If you don't see police coming, don't go anywhere. Oh, the elderly woman was still in shock, but Zhao Yu had already pushed open the gate and ran out in a flash. Xiao Lulu! Xiao Lulu! As Zhao Yu rushed to his police car, he wondered if he could save Xiao Lulu in time. She could not end up as the fourth victim of the lost hand case, right? Senior, what a coincidence, I was about to call you. Li Bei's vivacious voice said through the phone. Li Xinhua's private life is a mess. I just saw her go into a hotel with 4 men. Ah. What? Zhao Yu had wanted to tell Li Bei about Li Dan, but as Li Bei suddenly told him that, he became lost for words. Li Bei sneered and said, I knew you were not thinking of anything good. I was joking. She was at the hotel for a conference. Kikik. Zhao Yu cut Li Bei short and told her what he saw at Li Dan's house all at once. After listening, Li Bei was completely dumbstruck. She was only a clerk intern, and although her investigation skills were quite good, she felt a little confused now that they had discovered who the culprit was. Senior. What should we do next? Li Bei asked, shivering. What should we do? Zhao Yu was also barely a real policeman. Encountering such an earth-shattering event had also made him lose the ability to think straight. He needed to take control over Li Dan's place and obtain evidence of her crime as well as the hands of the victims. At the same time, he needed to find Li Dan and Xiao Lulu's whereabouts. Zhao Yu was aware that time was running out. It was impossible for just him and Li Bei to complete an emergency task like this. They needed to request support, however, Zhao Yu was feuding with Liu Changhu and Chu Ping, so he did not want to hand over his hard-earned results to them. After much consideration, Zhao Yu finally had a plan. He immediately told Li Bei to contact the agents in Team A and get them search Li Dan's place. As they were often surpassed by Team B, most of the agents on Team A hated Team B to the core. If they could solve the lost hand case before Team B, it would be a good chance for them to earn some pride and glory, so they would definitely put in their best effort. As for locating Li Dan and Xiao Lulu, Zhao Yu intended to get Zhang Jingfeng to help. With the help of his expertise in finding people, they would certainly catch the culprit. Li Bei went along with Zhao Yu's plan and sought for help immediately after hanging up. In order to help Li Bei convince the Team A agents, Zhao Yu had wanted to send her the photos he took at Li Dan's place, however, his cell phone had no data, so how could he possibly send them? Luckily, Zhao Yu was a fast thinker and drove to the KFC at the entrance of the alley. This KFC was the same place where Luo Mena had called for help after having her hand chopped off. Using the data from KFC, Zhao Yu sent the information to Li Bei. Zhao Yu wasted no time and called Zhang Jingfeng right after sending the photo. Zhang Jingfeng had not learned his lesson and tried to pull the same trick of delaying and extorting Zhao Yu. Zhao Yu did not get angry. He sent him Li Dan's photo. With this, Zhang Jingfeng was convinced. The fella's nickname was Mudfish. How could he realize the benefits his involvement entailed? If he was able to help Zhao Yu catch the culprit of the lost hand case, he would definitely become a valued asset. This was the famous lost hand case. If it was solved, he would not be sent to the traffic police team. After realizing that, Zhang Jingfeng was on fire. He quickly told Zhao Yu to wait a moment and he would get to it immediately. Zhao Yu knew that this time, wait a moment was genuine. Zhao Yu only waited for 5 minutes and Zhang Jingfeng called him back. Bro, we've got a challenge this time. Zhang Jingfeng could be heard typing furiously on the keyboard. This Li Dan is very careful. Her cell phone cannot be located. Not only is her phone switched off, but the SIM card may have been removed too. As expected. Zhao Yu shook his head. Li Dan was so meticulous. She certainly would have made such preparations in advance. Moreover, precisely because her cell phone could not be located, it was without a doubt that she was planning to exact her revenge on Xiao Lulu soon. It's okay. Check on Xiao Lulu. Oh, never mind, she's now called Xiao Jiaying. She has just arrived from Australia, and is now in Qinshan City. Her airplane ticket is on the photo I sent you. Zhao Yu all at once, just get her location. Quick! I'm checking, bro. Zhang Jingfeng replied straight away, I've gotten her cell phone number, but she's using an international SIM card, and the code format is different from our country's. I need time. How much time? Zhao Yu urged. About 10 minutes if I'm in the police station, but... What? You're not in the station? I'm using the computer at the billiards center. Damn, if you die, I'll definitely buy a billiards table to be buried with you. Zhao Yu cursed. I'll hurry, give me 15 minutes, just 15 minutes, okay? Zhang Jingfeng pleaded. All new chapters nnv.com. Zhao Yu thought to himself, 15 minutes and Xiao Lulu's hand could be gone. But under such circumstances, he had no choice but to wait patiently. After hanging up, Zhao Yu quickly looked through the photos on his phone to check if he had overlooked anything. All of a sudden, he thought of something. He remembered that when he saw the 3 glass bottles with the hands under Li Dan's bed, there was an empty space. There should have been a 4th bottle there. That space was obviously reserved for Xiao Lulu. Since the bottle was not under the bed, could Li Dan have brought the bottle with her? Wouldn't such a big bottle be inconvenient? Or did Li Dan put the bottle elsewhere as she did the previous times? Where could it be? The airport? Impossible. There were so many people at the airport. Li Dan would not strike there no matter how capable she was. Other places other than the airport? A thought struck Zhao Yu, and he hastily took out the document with the photo of the gravestone. Right. Why did Xiao Lulu come to Qinshan City? To repair her father's grave. The plane was scheduled to arrive at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If there was no delay, it was very likely that Xiao Lulu headed directly to the graveyard after landing. Who would not be worried if their father's grave had been ruined? So, if Xiao Lulu headed directly to the graveyard after landing, where would Li Dan choose to strike? Holy **T. Where else? The graveyard. There's no one there, and no security cameras. It's the perfect place to strike. The Zhao Yu of this world had never driven before. He did not even have a driver's license. But the street king Zhao Yu of his previous life was different. In his old world, he was often invited to the police station due to frequent speeding. Although his driving skill was not considered amazing, his opponents were always very afraid of him because Zhao Yu drove in a style similar to how he fought without a care for his own life. Zhao Yu was driving his police car with the siren was going off. How could any traffic police officers stop him now? He floored the gas pedal and headed straight towards the place called Majiacheng. Along the way he sped past countless cars, ignored every traffic light, and nearly ran a few cars into the ditch. The drivers behind him cursed endlessly. Of course, the reason why Zhao Yu drove so carelessly was because he was in a state of emergency. Majiacheng was a fairly famous graveyard in Qinshan and was the home of Xiao Lulu's father's grave. He was rushing to save someone. Despite that Zhao Yu only took 10 minutes to get to Majiacheng, the graveyard's area was fairly big, and he did not know where Xiao Lulu's grave's exact position was. Baidu's map feature would not show the exact position of graves, so Zhao Yu could only circle around the area and search. It was currently the end of April, so the graveyard was filled with long weeds. With his sight obstructed by the weeds, Zhao Yu's search was even more difficult. His car could not enter the tightly packed graveyard areas and could only circle around on the dirt road near the outside. At this time, the tracking expert was finally of some use. Zhang Jingfeng had finally found Shan Lulu's exact location and immediately called Zhao Yu. Originally, Zhang Jingfeng had wanted to send the location to Zhao Yu, but Zhao Yu's phone had no data, so he could only ask the other to describe the location coordinates orally, then use the police tracking device to pinpoint the position. After inputting the coordinates, Zhao Yu's eyes lit up. He had guessed correctly. Shan Lulu was indeed in the Ma Jiacheng graveyard area. If Shan Lulu was near, then Li Dan was most likely there too. Zhao Yu quickly got started on using the coordinates, but the car suddenly plunged into a ditch in the grave area and could no longer move. Zhao Yu could only try to memorize the location, then left the police car behind and headed towards the grave area. Even though it was almost May, the graveyard was still cold, and the air was humid. The area had not been maintained in almost 2 weeks, and the cemetery was completely empty except for some stray pieces of paper money and firecrackers. When Zhao Yu crossed through an area of weeds and tombs, he raised his head to see a blue taxi. Oh! Why is there a car here? Zhao Yu ran over in a hurry and saw that the taxi was stopped on a sidewalk. The driver was smoking and listening to the radio. There's a driver? Zhao Yu thought to himself, this area is very close to Shan Lulu's location. Could it be this taxi? Zhao Yu exclaimed, "Hey!" He rushed over and pulled out his police badge. I'm a police officer. Tell me, what are you doing here? Seeing a living person jump out from the cemetery with such an excited attitude shocked the driver greatly. Their face nearly turned green, and he almost burnt himself with his cigarette. When he saw Zhao Yu's police ID, he stuttered, I was here with a customer. Not here for anything. Was it someone from the airport? Zhao Yu asked in a hurry, with a woman? How did you know? The driver was suddenly curious and turned off the radio. A pretty cute lady. Said she was from somewhere foreign. Ah. Zhao Yu was shocked and nearly roared at the driver as he continued his questioning. Where is she? Where did she go? All new Haptors NNV.com. Over there! The driver did not know the situation and could only point to where the lady had went. How long ago? Zhao Yu yelled. Like a few minutes? The taxi driver was very confused. Are you really a policeman? What's the problem? Zhao Yu was in no mood for small talk and ran off with all his strength in the direction that the taxi driver pointed towards. A few minutes. A few minutes. He was not sure that if he could find her in the next few minutes. Zhao Yu moved faster than he ever had before. As he bolted through the graveyard, he craned his neck and looked around in every direction. Suddenly, through the cracks of the endless weeds, he saw something of a different color. Green? Where did the green come from? Also, it was moving. To see it clearly, Zhao Yu hopped over some tombstones and finally saw what was happening in the distance. When he saw it, his expression changed rapidly. Ah! Holy sh*t. About 20 meters away, a woman in a tight gown was messing with something in front of a tombstone. The woman was wearing a surgical cap. The hat was green, which was what Zhao Yu had seen moving in the distance. Below her, there was a woman dressed in a white fur coat and stiletto heels lying on the ground. The woman wearing the surgical cap looked as if she had just finished something. She rolled up the sleeve of the woman on the ground and put her hand flat against a small chopping board. Then, as Zhao Yu watched, she raised a silver axe high into the air. Ah! Zhao Yu was shocked and jumped up in a rush and yelled, "Hey! Stop!" His yell was filled with thunderous power. When it reached the woman in the surgical cap, the woman could not help but shiver and raised her head to look at Zhao Yu. Her face revealed nothing but panic. Zhao Yu bolted towards her as he yelled, "Holy sh*t! I finally caught you!" Zhao Yu thought. The woman in the surgical cap saw Zhao Yu running towards her, instinctively put down her weapon, and started running away. "Hey! Don't run! Don't run!" Zhao Yu roared as he chased, "You can't run. You're already surrounded. Where are you going?" When Zhao Yu ran past the front of the tomb, he checked on the fashionable and beautiful, rather tall woman lying on the ground. She was completely knocked out on the floor. Needless to say, this person was definitely Shan Lulu. The one who was running away was without a doubt the culprit, Li Dan. Li Dan! Zhao Yu realized. Zhao Yu quickly left Shan Lulu and continued to chase after Li Dan. Li Dan was running in the direction opposite of the taxi. There was a small path leading towards a highway in the distance. Humph! You can't get away. Once Zhao Yu realized their geographical position, his confidence boosted. He more or less had confidence in his ability to chase down people. Li Dan! Where do you think you're going? Zhao Yu took huge strides as he chased her. He was incredibly fast, and was visibly catching up to Li Dan. But as soon Li Dan reached the end of the graveyard area, she stopped. Huh? Zhao Yu paused as well. Why did she stop? Could it be that she finally realized she had nowhere to run, and was going to surrender? Zhao Yu was only thinking of catching her as soon as possible, and had not stopped running. He stood in front of Li Dan, but he had not expected that Li Dan would be holding an extra water gun. Zhao Yu recognized the water gun from what he had found in Li Dan's room, but because he had been in a rush, he had not checked on it and did not know what it was for. But Zhao Yu did not even have the chance to be curious as a syringe flew out from the water gun. Due to their close proximity, Zhao Yu could not dodge, and the syringe stabbed his shoulder. The liquid quickly entered his body. Ah, shit, holy shit, I was tricked. Zhao Yu's eyes bulged out as he glared at Li Dan a few meters away from him. He felt his limbs go weak, and the world began to spin. As his vision faded, he saw Li Dan turn and run towards the highway. Then, sirens started ringing out around him, which should have been backup. **T, they're pretty fast. Zhao Yu cursed out, then felt his eyelids grow heavy. Within a few seconds, his head hit the ground and he lost consciousness. Zhao Yu was still in a semi-conscious state when he heard Lu Changhu's clamor. "You are really a piece of work. Such a major thing happened, and I'm the last to know. Do you still regard me as your superior? Although I'm not the acting leader, I'm still your superior. Why wasn't I informed earlier? I'm no different from an audience now. What do you think you are doing? Listen up, if the culprit is not caught, none of you will have a good life." Having heard Lu Changhu's annoying voice, Zhao Yu opened his eyes and realized he was weak all over and unable to move. "Chief Wang, is Officer Zhao all right?" Li Bainie's worried voice rang in Zhao Yu's left ear. "Don't worry, it's not a big problem." A gentle female voice came into his right ear, "It's just a fast-acting anesthetic. With such a small dosage, I estimate that he will wake up in a few minutes." Just as Chief Wang ended her sentence, Zhao Yu opened his eyes and shook his head. "Hey! You've woken up!" Li Bainie shouted happily, "You've really woken up." At that instant, Zhao Yu suddenly recalled what had happened. Holy **T. I was taken down by a little woman. That water gun was actually a powerful anesthetic gun. Zhao Yu quickly got up from the ground and wanted to check on what had happened to Li Dan. Did she run away, or had she been caught? Get latest double CHDers on NVE/LBJ/N.C/M. However, the drug still lingered in his body, and his legs were unable to support himself. After getting up, he staggered and fell forward. Seeing the shaky Zhao Yu, Chief Wang rushed up to hold him. Who would have expected that Zhao Yu had used too much strength and fell onto the floor with Chief Wang pressing her under his body. What was more shocking was that Zhao Yu's hand was pressing on her chest. Oh! Li Beinei witnessed the whole incident and was too shocked for words. Chief Wang was the police force's Forensic Identification Bureau's top forensic pathologist, Wang Fei. Although her name sounded a little masculine, she was a true beauty. Just past the age of 30, she was as fair as a flower and as beautiful as the moon. This graceful woman was definitely one of the top beauties in the police station. With her great charm and a soft voice that melted the heart of anybody listening, she was the fantasy of many male agents in the police station. However, due to the nature of her work as a forensic pathologist, many people did not dare get close to her. According to gossip, Wang Fei had gotten divorced a few years ago due to her frequent contact with dead people. Zhao Yu had taken advantage of such a great beauty. It was a habit of his in the past to take advantage of women. When he felt their softness in his palms, he did not withdraw his hand, but instead took the opportunity to grab once more. Usually, a woman would have slapped Zhao Yu across the face. But Chief Wang did not seem to mind. She spread out her arms and stared at Zhao Yu with interest. She seemed to be asking Zhao Yu, "Let's see how long you're gonna grab me for?" "Hey! Senior!" Ahem, Li Beinei could not stand it anymore. She forced a cough and pulled Zhao Yu up. At that moment, Zhao Yu finally regained full consciousness. He looked around and realized he was still in the graveyard. After that fall, he and Wang Fei were covered in mud. Zhao Yu quickly bent over to help Wang Fei up and apologized at the same time. "I'm sorry, Chief Wang, I knocked into you. I'm really sorry, I really didn't do it on purpose." Kikik, Wang Fei sized up with Zhao Yu and laughed. "I had heard of a rogue detective in Team A, but I didn't expect it to be you." "I'm impressed." Kikik, Wang Fei laughed amorously without any hint of awkwardness. "Interesting. I like." Zhao Yu thought. He had wanted to continue flirting with Chief Wang, but Lu Changhu had rushed over in rage. "Zhao Yu! Look what you've done." He pointed at Zhao Yu's nose and howled, "How arrogant of you. You'd gotten such an important clue and you didn't report it? You really think you are the Lone Ranger? What exactly were you thinking? See? Now what, the culprit has escaped." "Hey!" Although Lu Changhu yelled at him, Zhao Yu did not pay him any attention. Instead, he put his arms on Li Beinei's shoulder and whispered softly, disregarding Lu Changhu. Zhao Yu asked about the case development. Li Beinei told him that when Team A agents confiscated Li Dan's criminal information and the three hands, they realized the severity of the situation and immediately reported it to Chu Ping and Lu Changhu. When the two found out, they were both furious and shocked. They never would have imagined that Zhao Yu would really uncover the truth behind the lost hand case, thus they quickly found Zhao Yu's location and rushed to the graveyard. When they got there, they first found the Xiao Lulu, who had been knocked out with anesthetic, and then found the unconscious Zhao Yu. As for the culprit Li Dan, there was no sight of her. No way. Zhao Yu recalled the moment before he was unconscious. He had already heard the sirens of the police cars. How could Li Dan have escaped if she had no transportation? Seeing that Zhao Yu totally ignored his existence, Lu Changhu was furious. "You guys, quickly inform the workers at the checkpoints of the road junctions around the area. We must not let the culprit escape." Chu Ping's voice was approaching Zhao Yu. "The culprit is very likely to have gotten a ride out of here." She wouldn't have gone far in this short amount of time. We must catch her. Yes, the team members received the order and ran out of the graveyard. After giving instructions, Chu Ping took big strides over toward Zhao Yu, stared fiercely at him and shouted, "Zhao Yu, you're really too selfish." Team leader Chu looked sullen. Because of a trivial thing like betting, you held up an important matter for the police. Why didn't you tell me about such an important lead earlier? If you had told me, the situation wouldn't be like this now. The culprit would have been brought to justice. But look at what's happened now, Chu Ping scolded. With the culprit's ability, if she leaves Qinshan, it will be difficult to catch her in future. Exactly. Lu Changhu finally got a chance to rant. Zhao Yu. You think you're so great because you found out a little clue. Let me tell you, as long as the culprit is not caught, the case is not solved. I'm gonna report you to the superiors later. Just you wait for your punishment. Captain Lu, isn't this too much? Li Beinei could not stand it anymore and stood beside Zhao Yu. Officer Zhao had found the clues. Even if there's no reward, there should not be any punishment. That's right, Captain Lu. Wang Fei suddenly chimed in, I don't think there's a need for any punishment. If not for Zhao, that woman would have lost her right hand just now. Although Wang Fei spoke with a soft voice, her words as the first in command of the Forensic Identification Bureau carried much weight. Lu Changhu had not expected her to speak for Zhao Yu, and felt embarrassed. Because of this case, Zhao Yu was even shot by the anesthetic gun. Li Beinei said angrily, how dangerous was that? You still want to make things difficult for him? Li Beinei, where are your manners? Lu Changhu could not say anything to Wang Fei, but for an intern like Li Beinei, it was different. He howled, I haven't even gotten to you yet. You helped Zhao Yu conceal evidence. You're not getting away with it too. The two of you just wait and see. Huh. You also know that it's dangerous to be shot by an anesthetic gun, right? Chu Ping said coldly, this is the consequence of doing things your own way. Exactly, he obviously doesn't have the ability. Lu Changhu added to express his bitterness. Lu Changhu had thought that Zhao Yu would fly into a rage after hearing all of this, and cursing. However, he was surprised to see that Zhao Yu was not angry. He looked as if he had been praised and started to smirk. Seeing Zhao Yu laughing for no reason, Department Leader Wang Fei, who was at the location to collect evidence, stopped his work to watch what was happening. Zhao Yu, you can laugh. Lu Changhu was still making faces, your happy days are at its end. We'll see how long you can laugh. Chu Ping was uninterested, and turned to leave. Even though she did not like Zhao Yu, she also did not like Lu Changhu. But as she was leaving, Zhao Yu called out to her. Oi, Team Leader Chu. Don't leave yet. Zhao Yu spoke as he laughed, you have to be my witness. What? Chu Ping turned around, confused, what do you mean? Oi. Lu. Zhao Yu turned towards Lu Changhu and laughed, say, about our bet, does it count or not? Lu Changhu rolled his eyes as he replied, yeah, why not? Didn't we say so? If you can solve the lost hand case, then I'll pay the 1,800 yuan for you. But where's the culprit? If you don't have the culprit, how can you solve the case? What's the rush? Zhao Yu tilted his head, didn't we say 7 days? 7 days was the limit. It's only been 5 days, don't I still have time? Right. There's still time, still time. Lu Changhu also laughed, how about it, Zhao Yu? Could it be that you still want to catch the culprit? All right. But I'll say it right now, I'll only complete the bet if you specifically catch the culprit. If it was someone else, it doesn't count. He, I just wanted your promise. Zhao Yu turned to Chu Ping. Did you hear, team leader Chu? You have to be my witness. After this, I'll go and catch the culprit of the lost hand case with my own hands. How about we also have a competition? See who catches the culprit first. Hearing this, the police officers present could not help but talk among themselves, creating a commotion. In their eyes, Zhao Yu was digging himself a grave. Chu Ping's had access to all sorts of surveillance, roadblocks, and patrols. For Zhao Yu to catch the culprit before her was almost an impossible task. Fine. Chu Ping had also been taunted by Zhao Yu, and mocked him. Looks like, I can only wish you good luck. Hearing Chu Ping's mockery, the investigators on B team all displayed varying degrees of mocking expressions as well. But, Zhao Yu even extended his hand towards the crowd. Come, everyone, interested? I'll pay. If I win, you'll get 10 times what you bet. If you bet on team leader Chu Ping and she wins, you'll get twice what you bet. How about it? Anyone? Zhao Yu's words made the police officers even more awkward. Everyone thought he had gone crazy. He had the audacity to make bets. How was this anything like a police officer? But everyone was watching curiously. No one actually went ahead and made bets. Che! Seeing no one taking the bet, Zhao Yu waved his hands with little interest. A bunch of chickens. Go do whatever. I'm leaving now, got a criminal to catch. See you guys. After he finished, Zhao Yu turned and walked towards the graveyard. Hey, senior, you didn't make a mistake, right? Li Beinei was somewhat agitated as she waved her hand at Zhao Yu, but Zhao Yu simply waved back. It's fine. Don't need your help this time. I can do it myself. No need to see me off. Not that. Li Beinei stomped her foot in frustration. Senior, you're going the wrong way. It's that way. As it turns out, the way Zhao Yu was going was deeper into the graveyard and not towards the exit. Ha ha ha, he laughed. The investigators on Team B thought that Zhao Yu was still under the effect of the anesthesia and could no longer control himself as he bent over with laughter. Li Changhu spit onto the ground to vent his frustration and muttered, "Can't even find the right direction, and he wants to catch the culprit? What a joke!" By that time, Zhao Yu had already walked far away, but the group could still see his every move. However, they saw that Zhao Yu did not intend to leave the cemetery, but circled around the tombs. Check new CHDers at novilbin.com. Huh? Zhao Yu's strange movements quickly attracted the investigators' attention, especially team leader Chu Ping. She had previously intended to leave, but seeing Zhao Yu making rounds around the tomb, her face also showed confusion. TSK, that Zhao Yu, what was he planning? Suddenly, while everyone was distracted, they saw Zhao Yu stop in front of a certain grave. Then, as if he had found something, he suddenly started kicking the tomb. Wow, wowie, whoa. The investigators were all stunned and thought to themselves, Zhao Yu, this guy, did he really go nuts? After he kicked the tomb a couple of times, Zhao Yu suddenly leaped forward and disappeared. Ah! Where did he go? No way. Could he have fallen into the tomb? Quick! Over there! Chu Ping had already realized something and was the first to rush towards Zhao Yu's location. The other investigators followed, including Liu Changhu, Wang Fei, and others. When the group got to the front of the tomb, everyone was stunned in silence. Unexpectedly, the side of the grave had a nearly half-meter diameter entrance. Before everyone could take a closer look, Zhao Yu popped up from within the opening, and beside him was a woman. The woman was wearing a tight-fit windbreaker, still donning the surgical cap. She was definitely the culprit, Li Dan. Quick! Zhao Yu pressed Li Dan under his body and extended a peace sign to the group. Quick, take a photo for me. A few minutes later, Li Dan was handcuffed and taken away by a police car. As she was being taken away, Li Dan continued to use a bitter expression and glared at Zhao Yu, making him very uncomfortable. Thinking that she was the woman who had chopped off the hands of 3 victims, Zhao Yu felt nothing but a chill up his spine. Hey! Li Bani slapped Zhao Yu hard on the back, making Zhao Yu shiver. Jesus, oh, it's you? You scared me. Zhao Yu put a hand over his chest. It really had scared him badly. Please. You can go grave diving, but you're scared of me? Li Bani was all smiles as she sat beside Zhao Yu, but she also could not hold off her impatience. Quick, tell me now, how did you know the culprit was hiding inside the grave? Zhao Yu pondered for a moment and made up a lie. Li Dan's mom said that Li Dan was going to follow the theater troupe and perform in the rural areas, and that she'd be back in a few days. So that meant that Li Dan had already prepared not to go home? Zhao Yu continued, you have to remember, last year after she cut off Yuan Lily's hand, in order to avoid the surveillance cameras, she sat on top of the building for 7 days. So, I thought, maybe she'd stick to her ways and do it again? That makes sense. Li Bani thought about it and said, there aren't any cameras in the cemetery, but all around are streets. If she did not want to leave any evidence, then hiding near here would be the perfect idea. But, to pick a grave, this culprit was too daring. If she wasn't, how could she have cut off all of those hands? Zhao Yu was unsurprised. Huh? Wait? Li Bani suddenly remembered something, then asked, Senior? Even if you knew the culprit was hiding in a tomb, how did you know the exact position? Just now, how did you find the position right away? This is, TSK. Zhao Yu stuttered for a while and could not find a good excuse. Actually, Zhao Yu had not found the culprit by using his wits. He had been able to determine that Li Dan was hiding in the grave by using the Miracle Systems' gift, the invisible tracking device. When Zhao Yu had been shot with the anesthetic needle at the verge of unconsciousness, he suddenly remembered the invisible tracking device and planted it on Li Dan using his last bit of strength. This tracking device was indeed powerful. It was totally invisible, and Li Dan had not discovered it at all. When Zhao Yu woke up, he quickly became aware that there was a radar in his brain and that the target on the radar was pointing at Li Dan's location, thus that scene in which he found her had taken place. Zhao Yu had not expected Li Dan to be so cunning as to dig a hole beforehand and leave an escape route for herself. Although the grave was empty, what kind of mental torture would it be to lie inside and not speak for days? Any ordinary person would not be able to do that. If Zhao Yu had not arrived in time, Xiao Lulu would definitely have become the 4th victim in the lost hand case. And if Zhao Yu had not checked on Li Dan, this case would have most likely become an unsolved case like the previous years. Hey! You still want to keep me in suspense? Li Bani urged, tell me quick. How did you do it? Well, take a guess. Zhao Yu could not make up any reason and threw a question back at Li Bani. It seems to me, Li Bani rolled her eyes and guessed, you didn't use any reasoning or evidence at all. I think the anesthesia must have been too mild. The culprit thought that you were unconscious, but you were in fact still awake and saw her hide inside of the grave, right? Zhao Yu held his thumb up, faked his admiration. You are really something to have guessed right. Of course. Li Bani was pleased with herself, so you already knew where she was hiding. You purposely put up a show for Captain Liu and Team Leader Chu, you are really bad. But Senior, that really helped vent our anger. Li Bani said in a low voice. When the two of them saw that you had found the culprit, their jaws literally dropped, and they looked terrible. Ha ha ha. Looking at Li Baini smiling so brightly, Zhao Yu also forced a smile. Even though the case had been solved, and the culprit had also been caught, Zhao Yu did not feel especially excited. He only felt exhausted and a little defeated. Although the case still needed further investigation, Zhao Yu already understood the entire process of the lost hand case. All that had happened originated from the tragic incident that had happened to Li Dan 18 years ago. If not for that, then the lost hand case would never have happened. A girl with a bright future had turned into a demon for the sake of revenge. Yuan Lily had said that she needed the police to seek justice for her. Now that Li Dan had been caught by the police, would there be justice for Yuan Lily? And what about Li Dan? 18 years ago, she had been the victim. Where was her justice? Maybe Li Dan cruelly chopped off the hands of those people because she wanted to get justice for herself? Many things conflicted each other. While Zhao Yu was investigating the lost hand case with all his effort, although he was very tense during the day, he was able to sleep once he shut his eyes at night. Now that the case had been solved, he should have been able to relax, but instead he could not sleep. When he was back at the police station in the afternoon, Zhao Yu reported the entire process, from initial investigations to finally getting hold of Li Dan, to the recording officer. Needless to say, he could not mention anything about the miracle system and Jiang Shaoqing, so he had to make up a story as a great detective who had figured out all of the details by himself, with abilities beyond Conan and Sherlock Holmes. The recording officer was stunned. He was engrossed with his version of the story as he laid in bed. All of the complicated details of the lost hand case were still showing up in Zhao Yu's head, making a mess out of him. He was exhausted. He seemed to cling on to the right and wrong of the case, wanting to figure out who was in the right and who was in the wrong. However, the lost hand case was too complicated. How was it possible for an ordinary person to discern? In the end, one would only fall deeper into it. Zhao Yu's confused thoughts were suddenly disrupted by the miracle system. Current adventure has been completed. Completion rate, 95%. Congratulations, you have been awarded 5 invisible tools, please check. Oh. At that instance, Zhao Yu's mouth opened in shock. 95%? So high? 5 tools at once? Holy sh**t. Zhao Yu quickly went to the system to check, and the introduction followed. Invisible lie detector, 5 units. Disposable consumable product. After activation, the lie detector function lasts 10 minutes. Oh, it's a lie detector. Zhao Yu could not help but feel greatly disappointed. Although he had achieved such a high completion rate, he had only received 5 lie detectors. This thing. Thinking back on the previous tools he had received, like the listening device, tracking device, multifunction key, and now the lie detector, it seemed that the miracle system was trying to make him a secret agent. Well, I can be a secret agent. Give me a cool sports car like James Bond's. Laser phone, multifunction watch, or something. Something that I can show off. Switching thoughts, the items that he had gotten previously had indeed come in handy in some way. If he had not used the tracking device in the graveyard, how would he have caught Li Dan? Heat scad. Alright, it's better than nothing. Who knows, in future these things might be useful. After keeping the items, Zhao Yu pondered over the miracle system in detail. After a few consecutive days of understanding, Zhao Yu gained a deeper knowledge on the miracle system. He felt that although he had already put great effort into investigating the lost hand case, it would have been impossible if not for the miracle system. If not for the miracle system, he would not have gone to Jiang Shaoqing's parents' conference and connected the lost hand case to piano from there. If not for the miracle system, he would not have gone into Yang Hong's room and gotten information on the piano prodigy, Li Dan, and if not for the awarded tools, he would not have caught Li Dan by himself. Of course, there were always 2 sides to everything. From another point of view, if Zhao Yu had not put in so much effort into the investigation, even with the benefits of the system, he would not have been able to solve it. If he had not been thinking about the case constantly, he never would have linked chopping hands with piano. Even if Yang Hong had told him about the piano prodigy, he might not have paid attention to it. In other words, if Zhao Yu had not put effort into investigating the case, even if the culprit had been standing right in front of him, he might not have even known that that person was the culprit. Zhao Yu felt that the miracle system was not making any divine calculations at all, and that there was no such thing as good luck or bad luck. The system merely provided Zhao Yu with various encounters, but whether those encounters materialized depended on himself. Ultimately, man will triumph over nature. Miracle system engaged. DUI Jin hexagram. Reverse of thunder, split from within, cannot distinguish between the 5 elements. Financial situation may fluctuate, and there may be surprises in the future. After a series of violent coughs, Zhao Yu engaged the miracle system successfully that morning. DUI Jin hexagram, he wondered. Zhao Yu recalled his old predications and realized that there had never been the thunder hexagram. What did thunder represent? Even though reverse hexagrams had appeared multiple times before, Zhao Yu still could not guess its significance. As for the difficult hexagram explanations, he was even more clueless. Zhao Yu could only write it down carefully, hoping that he would understand it one day. The reason why he woke up so early was not because he wanted to get to work on time, but because Li Bainey had given him a phone call early in the morning. Li Bainey had said that Li Dan, who was caught yesterday, refused to say anything during interrogation and asked only to see the police officer who had caught her. The police in question was obviously His Highness, Zhao Yu. Zhao Yu could not help but be a bit curious. Why would Li Dan cause a ruckus wanting to see him? What did she want to do? It was probably still a good idea to meet her because despite knowing most of the story behind the lost hand case, Zhao Yu still had a lot of questions. So after the miracle system, Zhao Yu went to the police interrogation room bright and early. The interrogation room was dim and silent, but the light bulb was overwhelmingly bright. This setup was to affect the criminal's mentality, driving them to confess faster. This was not the first time that Zhao Yu had been in an interrogation room, but he had always been sitting on the other side of the table. Now that he was in the reverse position, he felt a little new to the table. Li Dan was sitting on the interrogation chair, her arms bounded. Her head was down, with her long hair messily draped over her shoulders. She almost looked like a ghost from a horror story. Hearing some noise, she raised her head, finally revealing her appearance. Zhao Yu took a careful look. Li Dan was not very tall. Her chin was sharp, and her skin was smooth with certain shine to it. Even though she was 36 years old, she looked more like a student. It was hard to believe that such an average-looking woman had cut off the hands of 3 people. I heard you were looking for me. What about it? Couldn't believe I caught you? Zhao Yu did not know how to interrogate someone properly, and started the conversation with a tone that investigators usually avoided. Hearing this, the investigators in the interrogation room all knitted their brows. It was you? Li Dan's seemed as if it had not come from her throat, but straight from her chest, giving it a hostile tone. It was me, what about it? Zhao Yu also spoke arrogantly, trying to intimidate the other with his imposing manner. He slammed the table. I'll tell you now, confess everything or suffer. Admit to your crime while you still have time, don't spit on our kindness and force our hands. Since you caught me, then you definitely know why I did it. Li Dan was a bit agitated as she asked, tell me, quick, who was it? Huh? What? Zhao Yu was surprised. What do you mean, who was it? Who was it that put the razor in the piano? Li Dan's eyes were wide. Who was it that set up the trap for me? Read latest OVLS at nv/e/l/buy.com. Zhao Yu looked at Li Dan's right hand and saw that on her right hand there was a small piece missing from her middle finger, causing a small deformation. But it was very hard to tell unless you looked carefully. Wait, let me think for a moment. Zhao Yu knitted his brows and thought about the situation, then asked, could it be that you didn't know who put the razor in the piano? Then why did you go and chop off so many people's hands? Are you crazy? Humph. Li Dan spoke savagely, if they hadn't used up my practice time then nothing would have happened to me. As long as they entered the final competition, they all have responsibility. You tell me, Gao Tian, Yuan Lily, Luo Mena, which one was it? Hey! Zhao Yu was puzzled, what do you mean? There were so many people in the final competition. Why do you say the culprit is among the three of them? I've already chopped off the hands of the three of them. Li Dan clenched her teeth as she spoke, I don't think my plan had any gaps. Only if one of the three admitted to putting the razor in the piano would you guys be able to connect the crime to me. Quick! Tell me, which one of them was it? Li Dan was exceptionally agitated and kept struggling in vain against her restraints on the interrogation chair. Could it be? Hey! Aren't you being a little too confident? Zhao Yu shook his head, you think that other than the victims admitting to attacking you, we wouldn't have any other way to find you? Aren't you looking down on? Suddenly, Zhao Yu realized that Li Dan's words held some truth. If it had not been for his miracle system, he really would not have found Li Dan. Not only that, but Li Dan had even kept incriminating evidence, the hands of the chopped-off people, in her own house. Was that not the epitome of confidence? Regarding the first two cases, the police force were unable to solve it for an entire year. Who could have imagined that the source of the lost hand case was a piano competition 18 years prior? Fine. You don't have to tell me. Li Dan laughed ferociously, I've already gotten my revenge. The person who harmed me was one of the three. I already have the hands and the evidence in my house. I'm fully ready to take them down with me. Humph, now, I'll let her taste it too, the feeling of losing your hand. No. You're wrong. Zhao Yu shook his head and sighed, none of the three admitted to hurting you. You were wrong. I used other methods to find your information. What? Li Dan was stunned, what method? That's impossible. I already found out that the three victims all attended a piano competition 18 years ago, then I found a witness who told me about you. Then, I found your house, and caught you. Who? Impossible. Li Dan was still in disbelief, not many people knew what happened. Not many doesn't mean there were none. Zhao Yu responded, but since it's been 18 years, they were difficult to find. But still. Li Dan retorted, even if you found me, how could you know where I lived? When your mother went to the hospital for chemotherapy, she used your actual address. What? Li Dan was shocked, my mom was the one who completed the registration. I thought that she used the address on her social ID. Damn it! That's why we say there are no perfect crimes. Zhao Yu said proudly. That's still wrong. Li Dan continued to retort, even if everything you said was true, I didn't include what tomb I would hide in at the information in my house. How did you find me? Your anesthesia was expired. Zhao Yu lied without blinking, even though I was fainting, I saw you turn back over and crawl into the tomb, so I knew. Impossible. Impossible, Li Dan continued to mutter impossible with a face of agitation, but her body slumped down in disappointment. Zhao Yu understood two more things. 1. Li Dan's anesthetic gun had been specially prepared for the crime. As she was not sure if Xiao Lulu would enter the grave alone, the anesthetic gun would have come in handy. Who would have expected Zhao Yu to be the one shot in the end? The second thing was that throughout the years since the piano competition, Li Dan had not thought of chopping off hands for revenge, although she had felt robbed. It was only last January when she found out that her mother had a terminal illness. Devastated, her vengeance surfaced. Zhao Yu took a deep sigh and said, "You're so capable, but why were you so stupid to choose this method of revenge? You could have just caught the suspects and forced them to tell the truth. Whoever harmed you, you chopped off their hand. Every injustice has its perpetrator, but you chopped off the hands of 3 people. Isn't that equivalent to killing innocent people?" "What did you say?" Li Dan had not expected a police officer to say that and was agitated. "I'm stupid? I didn't want their life. If I had kept one to interrogate, wouldn't I have just revealed myself as the criminal?" "That's true." Zhao Yu nodded and frowned. "I'm just puzzled. You have the abilities to pull off such arrogant crimes. If you use those abilities to make money, wouldn't you be able to lead a good life too? Why do you have to obsess yourself with revenge? You don't know anything, you are not fit to lecture me." Li Dan breathed heavily. "You did not experience the same kind of pain as I did. You don't understand how deep hatred is. After my hand was hurt, I could never look at a piano in the same way. It's like seeing a demon. The very same thing that my life had revolved around. Can you understand the pain worse than death?" She continued, "My father put all of his hope on me, and I shattered all his hope. Do you know how ashamed and guilty I was? My father's gone, and my mother has cancer. Everything has been taken away from me. Do you understand the despair?" She yelled, "And what about them? They all went to famous universities and led extravagant lives. If it were you, how would you feel? Indeed, I'd want to slaughter them." Zhao Yu admitted, "Not only them, but also those darned organizers, darned police. If they had cooperated and investigated thoroughly, justice would have been served. I say you should chop off their hands too." Li Dan was stunned by Zhao Yu's words. After the police outside heard them, they shook their heads, and all looked at one another in astonishment. They had never seen any police interrogate a criminal like that. But Zhao Yu changed his course suddenly. "Before I take revenge, I would spare a thought for my family. If I was in jail, who would take care of them? Li Dan, let me say something, the human heart cannot lose balance, and hatred cannot cross boundaries. If not, bad doings will only result in bad consequences, and it will be too late for regret." Zhao Yu's words deeply touched Li Dan. Tears welled up in her eyes and she was too agitated to say anything more. Not only Li Dan, but the policeman outside also felt the same. No one had expected Zhao Yu to say something so profound and started to look at Zhao Yu with some respect. Those words originated from a triad leader who gave Zhao Yu advice during his early days in the underworld. It was to make him understand that even as a gangster, there was a bottom line in doing things, and that he must not do as he pleased. Zhao Yu had not fully understood the meaning behind these words then, which was why he had been framed by others later. The human heart cannot lose balance, and hatred cannot cross boundaries. After Zhao Yu had become a policeman, those words were engraved more deeply in his heart. When Zhao Yu returned to the office, he intended to ask Li Baini things like, what kind of punishment would crimes like Li Dan's receive, and how do we deal with her old mother and her cancer? However, when he entered Time's office, he was shocked to see such a mess. Initially, Zhao Yu had thought that the colleagues were preparing to celebrate solving the lost hand case. It was only when he saw a few ruffians arguing with the criminal police that he realized something else had happened. Lu Changhu was trying hard to explain to those people, and his forehead was covered with sweat. When he saw Zhao Yu entering, he immediately pointed at Zhao Yu. All right, all right. Let me tell you, the person who damaged your things is him. Take up your issues with him. Upon hearing this, the ruffians immediately surrounded Zhao Yu as they shouted, "Pay for our losses." Their arrogance was so big it seemed that they were going to swallow Zhao Yu. Zhao Yu did not allow himself to be pushed around. He aimed at the leader who had yellow-dyed hair and tied his hands behind his back before giving his calf a kick, causing him to kneel on the floor. Ah! Ah! The yellow-haired guy felt his hands breaking and shouted in pain. Hey! Zhao Yu! Stop it! Stop it now! Lu Chenghu signaled hastily, "These are all representatives of the vendors from Yushi Alley whose things were damaged by you. They're here to seek compensation from you. You can't hit them." Yushi Alley? Zhao Yu tried to recall and realized that Yushi Alley was the alley where he had rode on a camel to catch a thief a few days ago. In order to catch the thief, he had indeed damaged many of the vendors' things. Are you kidding me? Zhao Yu thought to himself with his eyes wide. They are here to seek compensation? They dare come to a police station to ask for compensation? How bold are these people? Zhao Yu let go of the yellow-haired guy. The other representatives saw that Zhao Yu was not one to be trifled with and quickly took a step back. Zhao Yu saw Li Baini and asked softly, "Sis, what happened? Wasn't this matter already settled?" "No." Li Baini bit her lips. The vendor representatives formed a compensation committee and complained to the local police station every day. The local police station was under pressure and sent them over here. Huh? Under pressure? They were obviously too lazy to deal with them. Zhao Yu thought. He glanced at the people in front of him, seeing their hooligan mannerisms. He immediately knew what happened. Those people were not vendors who had suffered losses, they had been hired by the vendors to extort money from the police station. How daring, they actually dared to extort money from the key case unit. Zhao Yu. Although Lu Chenghu knew what had happened, he chose to help the outsiders. You damaged other people's things, so of course you have to pay. Let me tell you, these representatives are here to seek compensation. If this can't be settled, the other vendors will petition around our police station. If the station chief gets to know about it, you have to bear the consequences yourself. Lu, we shall settle our personal feud later. Let me tell you, if they actually surround the police station, you as the acting team leader will be punished as well. Zhao Yu scolded him. Zhao Yu was right. If such a small matter could not be settled, he would definitely receive a heavier punishment than Zhao Yu. All test NOVL on novelben/.cm. Hey, the leader is right. The leader is brilliant. The yellow-haired guy quickly took a bill and said to Zhao Yu, "Whoever damaged our things should pay. If the public's welfare is not protected, how can you still uphold the law? Officer, take a look, this is the bill. Hope you can compensate our losses as soon as possible." There was no way Zhao Yu would look at the bill. He turned to the leader and said, Let me ask you, are you really vendors from Yushi Alley?" "Officer, we're at the police station, we wouldn't have the guts to lie to the government." The yellow-haired guy conjured a smile, "I sell rat poison. This one sells spices. And that one sells tableware. Officer, it's not easy for people like us doing small dealings. The things you damaged are our entire belongings. We are not asking for sky-high prices. It's really not a lot of money, have a look at the bill first." All right, Zhao Yu waved his hand and smiled. "Let me ask you again, your things, were they damaged by a camel?" "Yes." "Yes," a few people nodded in unison. "Then isn't this settled?" Zhao Yu clapped and smiled. Go, Get going, quick, go get it from the camel. If you're late, it may have returned to the desert. Officer, that's not how it works. The blonde stuck out his tongue. The camel is an animal, it listens to your command. You rode the camel and broke everything, so you have to pay. Right. Right. The others agreed. Hey, you guys are going overboard, Libani cut in. We were catching a thief. If you ask me, the thief should be at fault. You guys should go ask him to pay you back. As she finished, Libani took the list from the blonde and was shocked by the number. What? 9,000 something yuan? Are you guys crazy? Those pots and pans, how could they be worth this much? You guys. Officer, the blonde was still all smiles. It wasn't just pots and pans, but also expensive medicine. My list is completely correct. You can check the names one by one. Also, we don't care about some bag thief, we just know you guys broke our stuff. Naturally, it's you guys who should pay up. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Unexpectedly, Zhao Yu started laughing wildly. Everyone present was stunned by his action. What had made Zhao Yu laugh? Zhao Yu took the list, flipped through it, and started laughing even harder as if he were having a seizure. Ha ha ha, he grabbed the front of the blonde's shirt, pulling him over. This is your claim statement? What are you playing at? Officer, the blonde looked a little guilty. What do you mean? Zhao Yu shook his head and patted on his own chest. Let bro here teach you. You see, your list only has objects listed on it, no human damage. You can tell by one glance that it's not a good deal. What do you mean? The blonde scratched his head. If this were up to me, Zhao Yu pointed at the list and continued, there would have been someone with a broken leg on this list. Let's assume that the camel stepped on and broke someone's leg. Then, while running away from the camel, let's also say that someone fell and got lumbar disc herniation. In a really severe case, they would be paralyzed. Those are examples of human damage. With that, there would be no limit to the amount of money you could get. Got it? Then, isn't that just making things up? The blonde asked. Holy sh*t, I've seen many people extort money, but I've never seen people who were so unprofessional at it. Zhao Yu lectured the other as if he was their senior. Are you stupid? Isn't your goal to extort money? To reach your goal, falsifying information is necessary. Objects are dead, but people are alive. I'd only be nervous if you mentioned that there were actual people involved in this. If I really end up under investigation, do you know how much trouble I'd be in? Besides, if someone ended up with lumbar disc herniation, how could I even verify that? Then, the people present all exchanged glances with each other. This is the key thing. Once you mention hurting people, then you can hit them hard. Zhao Yu pointed at the list again. Your list is so elementary. If you ask me, you should have started with 500,000 or even 1 million. Ah. The blonde was stunned. Isn't that too much? Keep listening. Zhao Yu continued to lecture. If I saw the price, I'd be shocked. Right? Then I would definitely try to negotiate with you guys. Then you guys could play nice, and slowly let the price drop to 10,000. Once I heard that, I'd feel like I was getting off easy. Wouldn't I be more willing to pay? That is the key to negotiating. Oh, after hearing Zhao Yu's lecture, the blonde truly felt his own shortcoming in extortion. Zhao Yu thought to himself, kiddo, I've extorted people over 1,800 something times already. I'm pretty much the pioneer of this field. You dare come and try it on me today? He said, kid, seeing that you're trying to learn, I'll teach you something else. Zhao Yu continued meaningfully, the police station is different from other sorts of workplaces. If you try to come here and play too big, we have enough jail cells for all of you. Then what should I do? The blonde looked at Zhao Yu in admiration. Two things. One is to use the media to pressure us. Zhao Yu said, find a reporter, or even pretend you have one just by holding a camera and a mic. That way if you come and make a ruckus, we wouldn't arrest you so easily. Oh, then, what's the second? The blonde was very eager to learn. Go find the leader. Zhao Yu grinned, I can give you our chief police officer's address. Then you can carry the one with the lumbar disc herniation on a stretcher, and put them in front of the door. Guarantee you'd get your money that day. Oh, the blonde gazed at Zhao Yu with deep respect. The others looked at Zhao Yu in admiration as well. But all of the investigators present were stunned. Zhao Yu's sneaky tricks were crazy. If someone really came and tried to extort money using his methods, none of the investigators would be able to do anything about it. Zhao Yu! Lu Changhu was immensely agitated. What are you saying? How could you teach them, also chief officer? Fine, bro. Thank you. At that time, the blonde's expression turned ambivalent as he spoke to Zhao Yu, seeing that you're so practical, I'll be honest. The price on our list was fake. How about this, we'll consider this a loss for us and ask for 2,000 yuan. Then we're even. This way, I can at least give our people some money, and you don't lose too much, you see. Seeing the blonde extending his hand, Zhao Yu's expression turned dark. The blonde was too afraid to continue as he saw the change in Zhao Yu's demeanor. Kid, it's because I felt that you were special that I decided to teach you. Zhao Yu asked coldly, you have to consider this carefully. Is this really how you want to do this? The blonde raised his eyebrows as if he were trying to consider the weight of Zhao Yu's words. But right at the moment, many people ran through the door. Zhao Yu, Officer Zhao Yu. The voice of a woman with a foreign accent rang through the office. Excuse me, which one is Officer Zhao Yu? The group turned to see a woman wearing a light blue fur coat walking into the office. A few men in black suits followed behind her. The woman was quite tall, and dressed fashionably like a celebrity. Everyone raised their head to look at her. Suddenly seeing so many people, Lu Changhu was displeased, and yelled, what is going on here? This is the key case investigation unit, how are all of these people getting in here? It was me. Suddenly Zhang Jingfeng quickly appeared at the door. He rushed to the front of the room and pointed at the tall woman, I let them in. This is Miss Xiao Jiaying. She came here specifically to thank us. Here, he waved at the woman, then pointed at Zhao Yu, that guy over there is Officer Zhao Yu, the one you're looking for. Oh, Xiao Jiaying took quick strides towards Zhao Yu, and excitedly shook his hand. Officer Zhao, thank you. Thank you so much. If it weren't for you, my hand. No worries, it was my duty. The woman's hand was soft and smooth, Zhao Yu felt comfortable holding it and did not want to let go. Oh, right. To express my gratitude, Xiao Jiaying nodded to the people behind her. A man in suit quickly moved forward and put a suitcase in front of Zhao Yu. Officer Zhao. Here is 100,000 yuan. Xiao Jiaying spoke with sincerity, consider this a token of my appreciation. No matter what, I insist that you must take it. Suddenly seeing a big bag of money in front of Zhao Yu, the office turned dead silent. The ruffians who had come to extort money looked on with their eyes wide open, practically drooling. Officer Zhao, there are no words that can express my gratitude. Xiao Jiaying said sincerely, you fought to protect my hand. If not for you, I cannot imagine what I would be now. This 100,000 yuan is really nothing. If you don't accept it, I'll be very upset. So, please accept it. Ahem, before Zhao Yu could speak, Lu Changhu made an enigmatic cough and stepped forward to speak to Xiao Jiaying. Ma'am, you can't do this. We have regulations in the police force. If Zhao Yu accepts your money, it will go against our regulations. Stop. Zhao Yu immediately stopped Lu Changhu and blurted, "Mind your own business." You. Lu Changhu had wanted to glare at Zhao Yu, but Zhao Yu took a step forward and pushed Lu Changhu to one side with his shoulder. The money's not for you, are you jealous? You. Lu Changhu's face turned green. Miss Xiao, heh. Zhao Yu conjured a smile and held Xiao Jiaying's hand. Our team leader is right. We have regulations in the police force. If I accept any reward from you now, I'll be punished after that. You see. Ah. What should we do? Xiao Jiaying's face became anxious. I'm sorry, I really didn't know. Officer Zhao, I really want to thank you sincerely. I really hope you can accept it. How about this? Zhao Yu had been waiting to hear that. He quickly and seriously spoke, since Miss Xiao is so sincere, I'd be letting her down if I didn't accept, right? Yes. Xiao Jiaying nodded, you have to accept. In that case, Zhao Yu finally let go of the beauty's hand and took out pen and paper. As long as you write a declaration that this is a voluntary donation, it will be perfectly justified for me to accept this money. And the police force would not punish me. There was a sudden uproar. What Zhao Yu had done was totally unexpected. Although it would not be against any regulations if there was a written declaration, it would undermine the reputation of the policemen in the unit. Zhao Yu, you! Lu Changhu stared at him with his bulging eyes and shouted, you dare to take that money? Do you realize you're smearing the reputation of the policemen here and putting us all to shame? Officer, before Zhao Yu could say anything, Xiao Jiaying spoke, I'm not here to smear the police's reputation, I merely want to express my gratitude for Officer Zhao. This money is my small token of appreciation. This is very common in Australia. Officer, she turned toward Lu Changhu, how about this, after I settle my father's issue, I'll send a silk banner to the police station, all right? With that, Xiao Jiaying hurriedly wrote a note saying donation of 100,000 renminbi to Zhao Yu. Zhao Yu would then be able to accept that huge sum of money with perfect justification. Lu! Zhao Yu was very pleased with himself and stuck out his tongue at Lu Changhu, adding insult to his injury, I don't want to mention this, but why did you blatantly ask for a silk banner? Isn't that a disgrace? Aren't you smearing our reputation by doing that? Don't you feel ashamed? You! Zhao Yu! You're shameless! Lu Changhu bared his teeth in anger and was shaking furiously. Other than the word shameless, he could not say anything else. Zhao Yu stopped bothering Lu Changhu. He took Xiao Jiaying's declaration, as well as the bag of money, and continued shaking hands with the beauty. Xiao Jiaying had her assistant give her business card to Zhao Yu, and told him to look for her if he needed any help in future. She would definitely do her best to help him out. Zhao Yu thanked her again, and Xiao Jiaying left the office with her assistant. Zhao Yu had wanted to criticize Lu Changhu further, but was stopped by the blonde guy. Officer, you have so much money now, don't you think? He stretched out his hands again at Zhao Yu. Zhao Yu's jubilant face turned gloomy again, and his eyes were cold and daunting. So, you've thought it through? Yes. The blonde said with certainty, I've thought it through. You've really decided to try and extort money from me? Yes. The yellow hair guy nodded. Humph. Coldness flashed across Zhao Yu's eyes as he threw the bag onto the table and dug out a stack of money. There were 10 stacks of bills in the bag, so each stack was exactly 10,000 yuan. Little punk. Zhao Yu stared at him and said, "Remember, you chose the path yourself, don't regret it after you've chosen it." The blonde guy seemed uncertain after Zhao Yu's comment and only nodded quietly. There. Zhao Yu threw the stack of money in front of him, 10,000 exactly. Keep the change. What? Wow. An uproar started in the office again. The policemen were all confused, nobody understood what exactly was Zhao Yu doing. They had agreed on 2,000, so why was he giving him more? Was he a fool? Among them, even the furious Lu Changhu looked on patiently. Big brother, no, the blonde guy seemed to have realized something and hastily waved his hands. We agreed on 2,000, I wouldn't dare to take more. Bullsh *T. Zhao Yu pounded on the table and the blonde trembled, holy *T. Are you looking down on me? 10,000 means 10,000. How can I take back what I said? Then, I shall. The blonde guy could not believe what was happening. After pondering for a while, he reached for the stack of money with uncertainty. Waha, Zhao Yu threw back his head and laughed out loud. The blonde guy quickly withdrew his hand in fear. Young punk. Zhao Yu grabbed the blonde's collar and said fiercely, "You can take the $10,000, but do you know the rules of the underworld?" What? What rules? The blonde guy had been taken by surprise. He never would have imagined that a police officer would tell him about the rules of the underworld. Crimson lips, white knife, golden finger. Zhao Yu pouted, rules of the underworld. You want to take money from me? Then you have to follow the rules set by me. I've chosen the lightest one for you today, what do you think? Hearing Zhao Yu's mouthful of street language, not only the policemen, but the delinquents as well were shocked and silent. Bro, the blonde's face was already a distinct shade of purple. I don't know, what do you mean? Holy *T. Zhao Yu spoke angrily, what are you doing on the streets if you haven't even heard of this before? Are you a newborn chick? Listen here, crimson lips means that if you slap someone, you have to give them red bills, white knife means that if you cut someone, you have to give them silver, golden finger. I see. Li Bainey cut in beside him, golden finger means if you cut off someone's finger, you have to give them gold. Yep. Zhao Yu gave Li Bainey a thumb up, then turned to the blonde, we're in the police station so we shouldn't do anything too bloody. So, I'll pick the first for you, crimson lips. You asked me to give you 2,000 yuan, but I gave you 10,000, nearly 4 times the amount. So you have to eat 4 slaps from me, 2 back and forward. But I hit pretty hard, so just in case you can't make it today, I'll give you a discount. Only 2 slaps, and the money's yours. Ah. The blonde was completely stunned. He never would have imagined that the police officer in front of him was even more professional than thugs on the street. Bro. Can I just take my 2,000 yuan? The blonde begged, 1,000 yuan is fine. Were you born in the year of the dog? So cowardly. Zhao Yu slammed the table, I already gave you a chance, and you already nodded in agreement. To give up so easily, how are you going to live if this gets out? Kiddo, the street people all care about your appearance, your face, your reputation. The money's here, you have to take it. The blonde was completely confused. Hey, suddenly the blonde's friends started egging him on. Are you stupid? Just 2 slaps for 10,000 yuan. It's worth it. Just bear with it, it'll be over in the blink of an eye. Yeah. It's just 2 slaps. It won't kill you. Your dad slaps you 100 times a day. You can do it! The blonde looked up at his friends and angrily roared, "Go F***ck yourselves. Can't you see? Today we messed with someone we shouldn't have. If you guys want the money, go get it yourselves." After he finished, the blonde hurriedly turned to Zhao Yu and bowed, "Bro, I lost. I don't want the money. I was wrong. I was wrong. Goodbye." As he finished, he turned to leave, but unexpectedly, Zhao Yu's eyes bulged, and he jumped up and pulled the blonde back, then forcefully threw him onto the ground. Then he did something even more unbelievable. You updates tnvel/buy.com. Zhao Yu first kicked the blonde in the face. The blonde's head loudly cracked against the ground. Then, like grabbing a baby chick, Zhao Yu lifted the blonde off of the floor and delivered 2 deafening slaps across his face. Zhao Yu's slaps were insanely forceful. The blonde's face was covered in blood, even the gums of his mouth were bleeding and loose. The last slap, especially, was so forceful that the blonde spun around 3 times then fell harshly onto the floor. The blonde's friends who were watching from the sideline were all petrified. Their eyes showed fear as they stood shaking in place. Their bravado from earlier had vanished completely. Senior! Senior! Stop! Stop! Li Beinei was truly terrified and yelled out trying to stop Zhao Yu. This was the police station, filled with surveillance cameras. She could only imagine the severe consequences that would come from hitting someone in the office. Zhang Jingfeng had seen what Zhao Yu could do and hurriedly stopped Li Beinei from taking another step forward. The blonde was laying on the floor completely knocked out, with only enough strength to squirm in place. Zhao Yu looked down at him, his expression completely unchanged from before. Holy **T, no guts at all. And you dare try to make a living on the streets? Consider this a lesson for me in case one day you find that you don't know the rules of the world and die a dog's death on the street." As he finished, Zhao Yu grabbed the stack of cash and threw it at the blonde's face. The bills scattered all over the room. "I kept my promise, I've slapped you, so the money is your." Zhao Yu yelled at the other officers, "The complaints department is on the 3rd floor, the chief's office is the 6th floor. If there's anyone that wants to report me, go now. If you don't, take the money and get out of my sight." The remaining delinquents looked at one another, but were all scared stiff. Seeing Zhao Yu's extreme violence when fighting someone, Liu Changhu was incredibly intimidated. Originally, he had wanted to use that chance to set a trap for Zhao Yu and report him, but now he was glued to his seat, unable to move. Bro! It was our fault!" One of the delinquents finally worked up the courage to speak. "That guy fell down by himself. We saw it clearly. You weren't involved at all. We'll leave now." They cleaned up the money and carried the blonde away. They had even left many bills on the floor as they scurried away. Holy **T. Zhao Yu muttered angrily, then stretched. As he stretched, his bones cracked loudly, sending fear into everyone's heart. At that moment, every investigator could not help but shiver. They had originally thought that Zhao Yu was merely a simple delinquent, but now they could tell that he was actually a demon. Many people were secretly glad that they had not truly angered him before. Zhao Yu coldly glanced at the crowd and saw the fear in everyone's eyes. It was better to conquer one's heart than destroy their body. If he were going to do something, he would do it right. He had taken a risk and raised his fists to someone in order to intimidate the crowd so that nobody would oppose him later. Thinking of people opposing him, Zhao Yu threw a glance at Liu Changhu. At the moment, Liu Changhu's expression was amazingly ugly. Seeing Zhao Yu stare at him, he could not even return eye contact. Zhao Yu was all smiles as he walked in front of Liu Changhu, pulling out a photo and waving it in front of the other. As it turned out, Zhao Yu had gotten the photo of himself capturing Li Dan at the tomb. Liu, I've taken care of the other debts. Now it's all up to you, Your Highness. He showed him the photo. See, here. I solved the lost hand case, and I also caught the culprit. Zhao Yu felt better and better as he taunted the other, even mimicking the other's proud demeanor. Zhao Yu, if you know what's good for you, you'd apologize to me, otherwise, I'll make sure you'll never be able to show your face at the police station again. Ha ha ha, Liu, how come you can't even raise your head to look at me now? Hearing Zhao Yu's taunts, Liu Changhu was going crazy with rage, but he had indeed made a bet with Zhao Yu. Since he had lost, he could not back out. He could only stomp his feet violently in frustration and leave the office. Ha ha ha, Zhao Yu stuck his middle finger at Liu Changhu as he left the office, then shouted at the crowd, "Everyone listen up. Tonight, I'm inviting everyone to dinner at Hong Long Restaurant. Everyone in Team A has to be there. Those who don't show up are insulting me. If you don't come, don't ever make eye contact with me when you see me." In Team A's office, Zhao Yu stuck the photo of himself and Li Dan taken in the grave onto the middle of the whiteboard. By displaying the photo, it indicated that the lost hand case had officially been solved. Looking at the whiteboard full of information on the case, Zhao Yu felt quite a sense of achievement. From the start of the lost hand case up until the end, he had put in great effort. Although he had gotten help from the miracle system, his perseverance played a crucial role. Reflecting on the ups and downs during the investigation process, Zhao Yu actually felt a little addicted. Zhao Yu seemed to have thought of something, and stared blankly at the whiteboard. He had not even realized Li Bei's presence as she handed him the money that he had dropped. "Senior, still reminiscing?" Li Bei held the few hundred yuan in her hands and laughed. "To be honest, I had doubts about you. It's really a miracle." After Li Bei expressed her amazement, Zhao Yu was still unresponsive. He was gazing at an area of the whiteboard, and he seemed to be thinking hard about something. You updates tnvel/buy.com. Hey, what are you thinking about? Li Bei was curious as to what Zhao Yu was so absorbed in. Bei. Zhang Jingfeng looked left and right before saying to Li Bei, "I think Ber Zhao has been possessed by the investigation. Come, let's talk about serious stuff. I heard that you're drafting the final report of the lost hand case, yeah? Don't forget to include my vital contribution, if not for me." Huh. Before Zhang Jingfeng could finish, Zhao Yu suddenly exclaimed, giving Zhang Jingfeng and Li Bei, as well as the other agents, a shock. "What is it, senior?" Li Bei frowned. Holy sh*T. Zhao Yu pointed at the whiteboard and said in an agitated tone, points difference. Why hadn't I thought of this? What? What points difference? Are you really possessed? Li Bei looked at the whiteboard and did not notice anything. The pregnant woman, do you still remember what the pregnant woman in 10th place said? Zhao Yu unfolded his arms and became more agitated. She said that because the judges of the competition were too professional, the points difference between the competitors during the finals was especially big, and the difference could be 300 to 400 points for some. Pregnant woman? 300 to 400 points? After pondering for a long time, Li Bei realized that Zhao Yu was still talking about the grand piano competition. Look! Zhao Yu pointed at some information on the whiteboard. In 6th place, Gao Tian, she had 1,020 points, but the 7th place only had 700 points. What does this mean? Seeing Zhao Yu so agitated, the other Team A agents came over and crowded around out of curiosity. What does it mean? With a finger beside her lips, Li Bei tried to think hard but was lost. It means the competitors after 6th place were all trash, they were not real competition and therefore were not worthy for Li Dan to take revenge on them. Zhao Yu pointed at the information. Li Dan's plan only started from 6th place, Gao Tian, Yuan Lily, Luo Mena, and then Xiao Lulu. From the 6th place to the 3rd place, only these 4 people were Li Dan's targets. Look, Zhao Yu pointed at the top portion of the information. 1st place, Lu Tao, had over 1,900 points. He fully deserved to be the champion with such an extraordinary score. With such potential, there was no reason for him to harm Li Dan. In 2nd place, Li Xinhua, had over 1,600 points. Although champion was out of her reach, she was well above 3rd place. Therefore, Li Xinhua also did not need to harm Li Dan. Even if she had lost to Li Dan during the finals, she could have secured 3rd place. You're saying, Li Baini wanted to say something but was uncertain. And Xiao Lulu? Only 1,400 points, Zhao Yu said excitedly. The points difference from 3rd to 6th place was not very significant, so one of them is most likely to be the one who harmed Li Dan. Only these 4 people would have benefited from Li Dan's withdrawal from the competition. Also, there were only these 4 people on the information Li Dan prepared for her plan, which meant that Li Dan knew from the start that the one who planted the blade was one of these 4 people. Senior, Li Baini was puzzled. Don't tell me you want to. Yes, and I've already found it. Zhao Yu swung his arm excitedly and searched in his pants pocket. He quickly found the business card that Xiao Jiaying had given him. Sis, he said to Li Baini hastily, help me make a reservation for a premier room at the Red Dragon Hotel, and send a message to our Team A buddies. See you guys at the hotel this evening at 6. I gotta rush or else I won't be able to catch up with her. Senior, Li Baini was puzzled. You. The case has not been completely solved, Zhao Yu said seriously. Be it me or Li Dan, we have an unfulfilled mission. After saying this, Zhao Yu turned and left the office, leaving all his colleagues bewildered. I think, Zhang Jingfeng swallowed his saliva and said, Brother Zhao is starting to speak more and more like Sherlock Holmes. Half an hour later, Xiao Jiaying, dressed in luxurious fur clothing, hurried into a cafe near the police station. The lost hand case caused her fear, thus she had her bodyguards follow closely by her side. Because of her lavish clothes, she naturally attracted much attention upon entering the cafe. Zhao Yu had long been waiting at the window seats. He quickly raised his hand when he saw Xiao Jiaying. I'm so sorry. Xiao Jiaying sat across Zhao Yu, slightly panting. I didn't expect to receive your call so soon. What's the important thing that you mentioned, Officer Zhao? Zhao Yu looked coldly at the men in black suit and coughed lightly. Xiao Jiaying, being a veteran in the business world, was good at observing one's behavior. She understood that Zhao Yu wanted to talk to her in private, but she could not help but frown and look discontent upon seeing Zhao Yu's somber face. Zhao Yu leaned forward slightly and showed Xiao Jiaying a picture on his phone. The picture was the list of final participants at the grand piano competition. After seeing the name list, Xiao Jiaying felt more puzzled. Only then did she wave her hand and dismiss her bodyguards. Officer Zhao, Xiao Jiaying stopped smiling. What do you mean by this? Miss Xiao, look carefully. Zhao Yu pointed at the picture. Gao Tian, 1,020 points, Yuan Lily, 1,058 points, Luo Mena, 1,336 points, Xiao Lulu, 1,426. Officer Zhao. Xiao Jiaying cut Zhao Yu off and returned the phone to him. What exactly do you want? Why are you reading this to me? Although I don't know what your preliminary results were, Zhao Yu said calmly. Li Dan's mother mentioned that Li Dan was in 3rd place in the preliminary round, and not too far from the top 2. Li Dan withdrew from the finals, so only the 4 of you could have benefited from hurting her. Officer Zhao, you can't possibly think that. Xiao Jiaying understood what Zhao Yu was implying and immediately stood up. I'm not finished. Zhao Yu waved his hand and continued, just now Li Dan told me that she had already chopped off Gao Tian's, Yuan Lily's, and Luo Meina's hands. If one of those three people really knew what had happened, Li Dan would have been caught and she wouldn't have thought to go after you. Officer Zhao, Xiao Jiaying started to fidget and said with a sullen face, what do you mean by this? Do you think that I put Li Dan in that state? Please think carefully, it was Li Dan who wanted to chop my hand, I'm the victim. Xiao Lulu. Zhao Yu gritted his teeth and shouted, you caused Li Dan to be in what state? Hearing this, Xiao Jiaying suddenly froze, as though she had been struck in the head. As the victim of the case, when Shan Jiaying woke up at the hospital, obviously there would be police debriefing her, but due to the immense backstory, the police officer obviously could not tell her entire story. Just like at the grand piano competition, Li Dan's name had not been mentioned to her. But when Zhao Yu mentioned Li Dan's name, Shan Jiaying was not surprised or even hesitant, as if she recognized that name. Not only did she know Li Dan, but she even knew ahead of time that the person who attacked her was Li Dan. Additionally, Zhao Yu had not even mentioned what had happened, but Shan Jiaying knew exactly what had happened to Li Dan, making her even more suspicious. As it turned out, Zhao Yu had already set up the trap, waiting for Shan Jiaying to walk into it. Shan Jiaying also realized she had made a mistake, and sat there squirming and picking at her arm. Miss Shan. Zhao Yu did not break his calm demeanor. Last year on April 22nd, Gao Tian was the first victim of Li Dan's plan for revenge. Then 5 days later on the 26th, Yuan Lily suffered the same fate in her own house. This year on April 22nd, Luo Meina also suffered the same fate. Then on the 26th, yesterday, you almost followed in their footsteps. April 22nd to April 26th. Do you have any idea why these dates are significant? Zhao Yu stared at Shan Jiaying and continued, these 5 dates are the same as the start and end of that year's piano competition. Li Dan picked those dates to commit the crime. There might be some sort of significance to it. Zhao, Officer Zhao. Shan Jiaying's words no longer had the power they had before. Her lips quivered as she spoke, we all attended that piano competition, but what does that mean? Shan Jiaying looked as if she was trying to argue, but was once again cut off by Zhao Yu. I've already looked up your guys' information. Out of the top 6 contestants, only your family was poor. Zhao Yu spoke coldly, the others weren't from rural areas, their families were all in decent financial condition, the parents were usually either white-collar workers or businessmen. In other words, the others had no reason to attack someone over a piano competition. Even though the piano competition could jumpstart their life, they were already finalists, they were already satisfied. But for you, whose family was poor, it was completely different. Zhao Yu showed no mercy as he spoke, I've looked up your records. You had competed in the 9th annual piano competition, but you were not one of the finalists. The 10th piano competition was your last chance. In order for you to be able to enter the competition, your father even faked your school and social identification. Originally, you managed to enter the finals, but your score was very precarious. Zhao Yu continued loudly, with one misstep, you would have been pushed out of the top 6. Once you were out of top 6, all of your hard work would disappear. The competition had an unspoken rule that only the top 6 would be accepted by famous schools. Thus, out of the 4 people, only you were in a dangerous situation. As it turned out, your bet succeeded. Li Dan's withdrawal from the competition was highly beneficial for you. You managed to get 3rd place, which completely changed your life. Zhao Yu continued, but what about Li Dan? Her entire life was ruined by a small piece of razor. You. Shan Jiaying's face turned bright red at Zhao Yu's words. She trembled as she spoke. Don't speak so haphazardly. Everything needs evidence. You're a police officer, how could you throw around accusations like this? Zhao Yu sighed. He bent his body a little, then spoke calmly again. Miss Shan, I think you misunderstood me. I didn't tell you this to get justice for Li Dan. Things happen, however unfortunate they may be. It's already been 18 years. Not to mention there's a lack of evidence. Why would I work so hard? Actually, I came to find you only to help Li Dan take care of something on her mind. Hearing Zhao Yu's words, Shan Jiaying was a little surprised. Zhao Yu paused for a few moments to organize his words, then continued, I've already talked with the prosecutor. Li Dan will be accused of planned assault. Due to the extreme situation, do you know what her sentence will be? Shan Jiaying paused. She had never thought about that. She would be lucky to get life in prison. Zhao Yu shook his head. If she's not lucky, she'll get the death sentence. Oh, even though it was a simple "oh" from Shan Jiaying, her expression revealed her surprise. She never thought Li Dan would receive such a heavy sentence. Li Dan's whole life is over. Zhao Yu could not help but sigh. I think you would know better than I would. But if it hadn't been for that small piece of razor, what would Li Dan's life be like? Pianist? Grand musician? Piano teacher? Or, maybe like you, a successful businesswoman? But in reality, her father died from depression, and her mother has cancer. It's a complete mess. Once her mother leaves this world, there might not even be anyone to maintain her tomb. No more, Officer Zhao. No more. Shan Jiaying interrupted Zhao Yu agitatedly. Her face was bright red and she was trembling, barely holding back her tears. After a long while, she finally lowered her head in shame and spoke, 18 years. A whole 18 years. A shiny tear silently slipped from her long eyelashes. Shan Jiaying was choking back her tears. Every time I thought of Li Dan, I couldn't sleep, and my blood ran cold. If you say what happened caused Li Dan a life of pain, then I'm living with an inescapable shadow. Shan Jiaying's tears continued to fall until she was weeping. Up to TED Chapters nnvelben.com. Zhao Yu did not have a handkerchief and could only slip 2 pieces of paper napkin to her. But Shan Jiaying had already fallen into a series of painful memories. How could she accept the napkin? She continued through her crying, Officer Zhao, you're right. Putting the razor trap for Li Dan was related to me. But you were wrong. 18 years ago, I was only a child. Other than practicing piano as hard as I could, how could I have had such dark thoughts? Not to mention setting up the razor would have been impossible for me. Huh? Suddenly, Zhao Yu was shocked. He had thought that Shan Jiaying attacking Li Dan was for sure, but hearing what she said, it did not seem so anymore. Could it be there was some other backstory? Xiao Jiaying forced a miserable wry smile and sighed, maybe this is all destiny. In order to get her revenge and chop off my hand, Li Dan dug up my father's grave. Maybe this was heaven's will. Oh, hearing this, Zhao Yu suddenly understood. The person who had planted the blade for Li Dan was not Xiao Jiaying, but Xiao Jiaying's father. 18 years ago before the finals, we were rehearsing in second middle school's music hall according to the rules. Xiao Jiaying recalled, my practice slot had been arranged for 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I had already finished practicing. However, that night, my father suddenly said that he had left something in the hall and told me to stay in the hotel by myself while he went back to the music hall. I saw my father looking flustered and I thought that he must have had lost something important. I also felt worried and wanted to go with him, but he strongly refused. My father had seldom spoke to me using a strong tone, so I knew not to follow him. I could only wait in the hotel since he had not allowed me to go with him. He was only going to retrieve an item, but it was after 11 at night when my father finally returned to the hotel. His face was extremely pale and he looked distraught. I asked him many questions, like what had he lost? Had he found it? Why had he came back so late? But he did not answer any of my questions. He only told me again and again that I must do well in the competition. I was slow-witted then. Although I knew that something was not right with my father, I did not think about it too much and focused on performing. I was only thinking about piano during the finals. I performed above my usual standard and achieved third place. It was only when the results had been posted that I discovered that Li Dan's name was not on the list. Li Dan had had a great reputation even before the competition, and she was everybody's favorite going into the competition. She had gotten into the finals, but I wondered why her name wasn't on the list. I started to inquire, and I remember very clearly that Luo Mena's mother told me that something had happened to Li Dan the night before the final competition, and that she had been hospitalized. But she didn't know what had really happened. Until then, I still hadn't realized that there was anything wrong, and I even felt lucky that Li Dan had withdrawn from the competition. If she hadn't, I wouldn't have gotten into the top 3. However, something coincidental happened. If I had not felt nervous and gone to the washroom during the award ceremony, I might been able to live with peace of mind my entire life. When I came out from the washroom, I saw Li Dan's mother arguing with someone from the organizing committee. Her hair was a mess, and she was wearing torn and dirty clothes. She seemed to have aged a lot since the last time I had seen her, and had tears in her eyes. She kept bowing to the person and seemed to be begging him for something. Being curious, I stood behind them and listened. I overheard that Li Dan had withdrawn from the competition because someone had planted a blade in the piano, and Li Dan had cut her finger. Hearing that, I suddenly thought of my father. The night he had been acting strangely, and had said he needed to go back to second middle school to retrieve something was exactly around the time when Li Dan's finger had been cut. I was confident that my father was the culprit. I don't even know how I accepted the award on that day. I felt that everything in front of me was an illusion. My father kept asking me to smile, but how could I smile? Xiao Jiaying took a deep sigh. If things had stopped there, perhaps I could have convinced myself that my father had nothing to do with Li Dan's injury, and that everything was just a coincidence, but reality is cruel. When we were packing our luggage in the hotel before returning home, a box fell out of my father's backpack. It was an entire box of art blades. By that point, Xiao Jiaying had already broken down in tears. It was a professional type of art blade, strong and sharp. If placed within the keyboard, not only would it not be discovered, but it would cause serious injuries. After a long pause, Xiao Jiaying continued, "No one in our family practiced art, and that type of art blade was very expensive, so it was impossible that it had come from my house." So, I had a big fight with my father in the hotel that night. After I asked him over and over again, my father finally admitted what he had done to Li Dan. Read latest chapters at no.vel.bin/.c/o/m only. I remember that I almost went crazy. Really crazy. The pain and pressure that I had suffered might not have been any less than Li Dan's. I felt that I was so ridiculous, so absurd, to have gotten third place through such an immoral method. What kind of self-respect could I have after that? My father was also terrified. He even got down on his knees and begged me not to tell anyone. Xiao Jiaying sobbed, "My parents were divorced, and my father had been the one taking care of me. He did not find another partner because of me. He did all he could to let me learn piano, and sometimes had to work 3 jobs, unable to rest at night. But such a loving father actually committed such an unforgivable crime. I was almost torn apart, torn by the weight of the decision I had to make. I didn't know what to do about Li Dan, but I didn't want my father to go to jail. Finally, I entered university with tremendous pain, then went abroad after that. After that competition, I never touched a piano again. Xiao Jiaying grieved. Whenever I saw a piano, I would think of Li Dan. Her finger, and the bloodstains on the piano. Zhao Yu listened attentively, surprised by the twists and turns of Xiao Jiaying's story. Li Dan's and Xiao Jiaying's father were so alike. Both of them had done everything they could for their beloved daughters. However, Xiao Jiaying's father had chosen a foolish and extreme method, causing this series of unfortunate events to occur. Heaven has eyes. Xiao Jiaying said as she wiped her tears with her handkerchief, maybe karma really does exist. 8 years ago, my father became paralyzed after he fell down the stairs at home and injured his lower back. Within the next 2 years, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and passed away shortly after that. On his deathbed, he could not even speak, but I knew that my father had not gotten what he had done to Li Dan. He had been filled with remorse and guilt, unable to forgive himself. A great mistake had been made in a moment of weakness. Faced with the truth, Zhao Yu could not help but sigh. Maybe if Zhao Yu had been more cautious in his old life, he would not have been framed and died so tragically. Officer Zhao! Xiao Jiaying stopped sobbing and said, I feel much better now that I've told the truth. I think my father had wanted to do the same thing but lacked the courage. She continued, how about this, I'll hire the best lawyers to defend Li Dan and fight for a better ending. As for Li Dan's mother, you can put your mind at ease. I'll arrange for the best people to take care of her. I know that money is not the issue between Li Dan and I don't expect her to forgive us. I only hope that this incident will not cause any more harm. Hearing this, Zhao Yu slumped back into the chair, feeling both relieved and weary. Although the lost hand case had finally come to an end, it would forever be impossible to access who was right and who was wrong. I will cross through the flash of blades and sword, to bring honor to my team. Wholeheartedly for my family, I am willing to die for thee. Let my blood flow free. Inside the karaoke room of Hong Long Restaurant, Zhao Yu was yelling out the classic tune from Young and Dangerous. He sung the song, The Flash of the Blades and Swords, very freely, emotionally and freely, using it to pour out his ambivalence over the lost hand case. Both Li Dan and Xiao Jiaying, he would no longer think about them. The case was closed, the culprit had been captured, and Li Dan's mother was going to be taken care of. The lost hand case was over in his book. All that remained was celebration. With the 100,000 yuan he had received from Xiao Jiaying, Zhao Yu could be considered somewhat rich. Being the generous man he was, he not only ordered Hong Long Restaurant's best food and drink, but he also invited everyone to KTV afterwards to enjoy their night to the fullest. Other than the hospitalized Mao Wei, and the substitute leader Liu Changhu, everyone from Team A came. What a joke! Zhao Yu had threatened everyone that if they did not come, they could never look him in the eye again. One of the investigators' mother-in-law was having surgery that night, but he still escaped from the hospital to come to the party. His wife had called him over 100 times, but he did not dare to pick up. Zhao Yu, quick, quick! Seeing Zhao Yu lost in song, Liang Huan raised his cell phone and yelled, Mao's looking for you. Come and look! The Mao Liang Huan spoke of was Team A's leader, Mao Wei. Mao Wei was currently hospitalized and could not show up to the party in person, so Liang Huan had used video call so that he could join them over the phone. When Zhao Yu took the phone, everyone crowded around the camera. Zhao! Through the phone came Mao Wei's excited voice, guess what? Once I heard that you stole 2 big cases from Team B, guess what? My legs stopped hurting. My body feels much better, and my appetite has been great. Ha ha ha, everyone laughed along. In the process of chasing a criminal, Mao Wei had fallen and broke his thigh, requiring almost half a year to make a full recovery. Although they seemed close, Zhao Yu did not know team leader Mao very well. Zhao Yu had not been at the police station for very long before Mao had been hospitalized. Irregardless, Mao Wei was still the boss of Team A. Hearing his praise, Zhao Yu quickly raised his thumb. "Boss, if I steal a few more cases from them, will you jump straight up out of your hospital bed?" Ha ha ha, the entire group laughed again. Hey! At that time, Zhang Jingfeng saw the good atmosphere and spoke, "Bro, sis, what are you guys waiting for? Let's raise a cup. For Zhao, who gave our team a moment of glory, and for Mao, wishing him a speedy recovery. How about it?" Wait, wait. Suddenly, a female investigator named Peng Xian yelled into the camera, "Mao? Do you have alcohol where you are? How about this, I'll split this cup with you." As she finished, she raised the cup in her hand, but spilled the entire cup on the floor. She feigned sadness as she yelled, "Mao, I hope you have lots of alcohol going across the river Styx. This cup was for you. Good luck." Wah ha, the group roared with laughter. Peng Xian was an old member of Team A. She was over 40, so everyone called her Big Sis. Unexpectedly, she was just as funny as the younger team members. Tiger Woman. Over the phone, Mao Wei laughed as he roared into the camera, "Once I recover, I'll go to your husband and ask him to take care of you earlier rather than later. That way you can't bother us anymore, ha ha ha." Sure, sure. Peng Xian laughed, "I can't wait to get away from him." Mao, wait, once we split up, I'll go and be your mistress. Ha, the atmosphere reached a new level of joy from Peng Xian and Mao Wei. With Zhang Jingfeng yelling cheers, everyone raised their glass and drank it in one go. Other than the members of Team A, Zhao Yu had also invited two other people. One was team leader Jing, and the other was department leader Wang Fei. Team leader Jing had said he had family issues to take care of, so he had not come. The old man rarely partied with the youngsters, so it was understandable. But, unexpectedly, Wang Fei graciously accepted the invitation and came to celebrate with Zhao Yu. Even though she had arrived a little late due to work, but for a department leader to show up at all gave Zhao Yu massive credit and pride. Zhao Yu truly had not expected her to come. Other than the short exchange at the cemetery, they had not had any contact before that. But unexpectedly, after searching through his memory, it turned out that while Zhao Yu had been an intern, he used to assist in the forensics department and had had some exchanges with Wang Fei. Even though he had not spent much time there, Wang Fei liked Zhao Yu quite a bit. Zhao Yu was a forthright man. Seeing that Wang Fei had respected him by showing up, he would obviously return the favor. He was extra courteous to department leader Wang during the feast. But because Wang Fei had driven to the restaurant by herself, she was not planning on drinking and only had some soda. After the party ended, Wang Fei offered to take Li Beini and Zhao Yu home since it was on the way for her. Li Beini's house was close to the restaurant and left before long. Afterwards, there were only Zhao Yu and Wang Fei in the car. "Well, how are you? Did you drink too much?" Wang Fei saw that Zhao Yu reeked of alcohol, and his eyes were unfocused. The voice of the female department leader was soft like silk and sweet like honey. Zhao Yu almost could not control himself. "If I haven't touched you, then it shouldn't be that much." Zhao Yu smiled sneakily. Wang Fei's shape was good, while she was sitting in the car it only emphasized her beauty, simply charming. He he he, Wang Fei laughed, "Pretty honest. Then I'll be honest too. Actually, taking you home isn't on the route back to my house at all." Ah. Zhao Yu's eyeballs rolled back. He felt as though Wang Fei had some hidden meaning in her words. "Not along the way. Is she purposely sending me home? Could it be, the woman is lonely and wants something from me? Zhao Yu thought. Ha! Seeing Zhao Yu's hesitation, Wang Fei smiled, must be thinking something naughty. I'll be honest, today a body came from Qinshan Water Reservoir. In order to attend your feast, I only finished half of the autopsy. I'm going back to finish up. Oh, Zhao Yu swallowed his spit. It turned out that Wang Fei was only taking him home on her way to the police station. Also, she had finished half of an autopsy but could still eat so well? That was the definition of professional. You're already department leader, why are you still trying so hard? Zhao Yu changed the topic. What are you saying? Department leader or not, Wang Fei smiled teasingly, the corpse is horribly rotten, and the new forensic doctor doesn't have enough experience, so I have to help. Oh. What? Wang Fei once again smiled seductively, still want to touch me? Do you feel uncomfortable? My hands have touched countless dead people. What are you saying? Zhao Yu smiled, it's not as if your hands killed them? Besides, if I could die by the hand of a beauty such as yourself, I would have no complaints. Ha! Wang Fei smirked, but complimented him, being a perverted officer, you're pretty good at compliments, aren't you? Read latest chapters at bin/o/m only. It's the truth, it's the truth. The two met each other's gazes and they smiled, then fell back into a period of awkward silence. A few minutes later, Zhao Yu pointed at the BMW sign on the steering wheel and tried to start small talk. Department leader Wang's pretty rich, isn't this an X7? Hee hee. Wang Fei focused on her driving, did you want to say that this is the same type of car as Luo Mena's? Wang Fei had hit the target precisely. Zhao Yu had actually been thinking that. He had been so focused on the lost hand case and instinctively connected the car to Luo Mena's BMW. The two cars were the same type, and even the colors were the same. I couldn't tell. Not only is department leader Wang good at examining dead people, but she can also examine the living pretty well too. Zhao Yu complimented her, actually, I just wanted to know, how can I get to be as rich as you? Easy. Wang Fei said simply, find a rich husband and make him your ex-husband. Oh, ha. Zhao Yu realized the meaning behind her words. As the two joked, the car had already stopped in front the door of Defeng Fruit Company. Seeing the charming Wang Fei in front of him, Zhao Yu licked his lips, Department leader Wang. I don't have anyone at my house, do you want to come in and sit for a bit? If you need to improve your corpse examination skills, I can pretend to be a corpse. Feel free to touch. The BMW drove away from the entrance of Defeng Fruit Company and left Zhao Yu standing unsteadily on his feet. In reaction to his blatant flirting, Wang Fei had only replied gently, I'm sorry, I don't have a surgical knife with me today. Although her tone was gentle, her answer was clear. Zhao Yu did not feel disappointed but instead had become more interested in Wang Fei. Although she usually looked amorous and charming, she had morals and was not as easy as Zhao Yu had thought. The more difficult something was, the higher the anticipation. Thinking back to his victory in the graveyard, Zhao Yu felt endlessly joyous and even started humming a tune on his way upstairs. However, when he reached his apartment and took out his key, his whistle suddenly screeched to a halt. He saw Jiang Shaoqing sitting right on his doorstep. Zhao Yu suddenly stopped, not knowing whether to advance or retreat. After the lost hand case had been solved, Zhao Yu had seriously considered the issue involving Jiang Shaoqing. He was not sure why he was seemingly scared of nothing. Whenever he would see that young girl, his forehead would start to sweat. After some careful thinking, Zhao Yu finally had solved the question. The answer was actually very simple. It was because Jiang Shaoqing was so outstanding. In Zhao Yu's previous life, he had always been hanging around gangsters. If Jiang Shaoqing had also been a bad student or a delinquent, Zhao Yu would have been able to handle her better. But Jiang Shaoqing was nothing like that. She was the best student in second middle school. She excelled both in morals and academics, and had a bright future awaiting her. However, the lost hand case had had too much of an impact on Zhao Yu. Whenever he saw Jiang Shaoqing, he would instinctively think of Li Dan. Li Dan had also been more talented than everyone else. Zhao Yu was very worried that Jiang Shaoqing would somehow follow in the footsteps of Li Dan and go down a bad path. Furthermore, Zhao Yu was the one who could be leading her down that path, causing Zhao Yu to have a constant knot in his stomach. Thus, when he saw Jiang Shaoqing, he panicked immediately. Before Jiang Shaoqing spoke, he already had cold feet. "Officer Zhao, you've been enjoying yourself." Jiang Shaoqing took a bite of her apple and said in an ambiguous tone, "It's really difficult to find you." What? Zhao Yu was tongue-tied. "I had a big case to investigate. But now that it's been solved, we can talk about your issues." "I know, it was the lost hand case," Jiang Shaoqing said flatly. "Holy," Zhao Yu was astonished. "How did you know?" "You're a big detective, what do you think?" Jiang Shaoqing said with disdain. "You know why I'm here to look for you in the middle of the night, right?" Zhao Yu nodded. What else could it be? It had to be because of the chaos he had caused at the parents' conference. "I really don't understand what you were thinking," Jiang Shaoqing shouted angrily. Afraid that her parents downstairs would hear, she quickly lowered her voice and exaggerated her expression a little. "You made such a big mess out of a simple parents' conference. I really gotta give it to you." Well, I can explain." Zhao Yu also lowered his voice. "I only want to make some money through honest means to share my dad's burden so that I can be a filial daughter." "Why is it so difficult?" The young girl became more agitated. "If I were exposed, how would I face my teachers and classmates? My mom would be so upset if she found out." "You know," Jiang Shaoqing started to cry as she spoke. In order not to make too much noise, she suppressed her cries in a heart-wrenching manner. Zhao Yu had not expected her to cry so quickly. "Don't cry. Don't cry. From how you described it, you haven't been exposed yet, right? So we still have the chance to make up for it. First you've got to tell me, what's the situation now? I'll help you settle it, all right?" "Really?" The young girl was easy to coax. After hearing Zhao Yu say that, her tears stopped immediately. "Of course, we're partners." Zhao Yu pounded his chest and said, "Your business is my business." "All right," Jiang Shaoqing wiped her tears and said in a serious tone, "Actually, I've made arrangements for 90%, and I'm only lacking your 10%. My holy sh*t? Zhao Yu thought. He blinked his eyes and finally understood that he had unknowingly fallen for the young girl's trick. It was really impossible to keep up with a top student. "My classmates have already put out a story in the school newspaper about when you created a mess during the parents' conference and searched through the entire data room. I've created a stir at school again." Jiang Shaoqing said, "My class teacher had called me into his office 3 times. He refuses to believe that you're my dad." Neither would I," Zhao Yu said truthfully. "My class teacher checked my file and found out that my dad sells fruit. However, you had to impersonate a police officer, so..." "Hey. What do you mean impersonate? I'm really a police officer." Zhao Yu instinctually defended himself, being offended over the word impersonate. Anyway, Mr. Wang has already called my house a few times, Jiang Shaoqing continued, but all of his phone calls have been intercepted by me. So, Mr. Wang has decided to come my place for a visit tomorrow morning. If he meets my father, then, you should know the consequences. Zhao Yu frowned and said, if that's the case, we have to think of a way to get your father out of the house tomorrow. I'll take over from there, and your teacher will not be suspicious. I've already got that settled. Jiang Shaoqing said, early tomorrow morning, my dad will receive a message from the hospital informing him that my mom's hospital bill has won a prize in a lucky draw, and he will need to go to the hospital to collect the prize. Huh, what? Wahahaha, Zhao Yu could not control his laughter. A hospital bill can win a lucky draw prize. Only a fool would believe that. Jiang Shaoqing gave Zhao Yu a cold stare and said the words with pauses, my dad believes. Oh, Zhao Yu swallowed his saliva and thought to himself, a dad with that level of intelligence, how could he have such a shrewd daughter? Is Jiang Shaoqing really his flesh and blood? Once my dad's gone, you can go to the shop and impersonate him. Jiang Shaoqing said while nodding her head. But, Zhao Yu pondered for a while and sounded a little worried, isn't there one more thing? I said that I was a policeman in front of so many people, but now I'm just supposed to be a fruit seller? How do we get past that? Well, I've settled that. You see, Jiang Shaoqing said as she took out a piece of paper. Zhao Yu took a look at it and almost fainted. It was a certificate of a medical diagnosis that Jiang Shaoqing had falsified. It was clearly written on the paper that Jiang Dafeng had severe split personality disorder. After showering and lying on his own bed, Zhao Yu felt dizzy from all the things going through his head. In order to account for his behavior at the parent conference, Jiang Shaoqing had faked a doctor's diagnosis. It said that her father, Jiang Dafeng, had major split personality disorder and would sometimes pretend that he was a police officer and thus had acted out of line at the parent meeting. Holy sh*t. To think she could have thought up something so insane and unreasonable, it was hard to tell if she was a genius or insane. The diagnostic paper she had faked looked perfect. Even the stamp on the back was realistic. Zhao Yu really had no idea how she managed to get something like that. But the more exceptional Jiang Shaoqing was, the more Zhao Yu felt nervous. Whenever he saw her, it was like seeing Li Dan's shadow. If Jiang Shaoqing followed in Li Dan's footsteps, and only used her talent for crime, the result could be disastrous. At first, Zhao Yu had not really believed Jiang Shaoqing's story about her mother being sick, thinking she was just a troubled child who used the money she stole from people's accounts to play games. But after some digging, he realized that Jiang Shaoqing's mother actually did have uremia, and that every month there was a huge medical fee. Jiang Dafeng did not make nearly enough money from selling fruits, thus their household had quite a few debts. Jiang Shaoqing's stealing from accounts was truly to help her family. Lying in bed, Zhao Yu continued to ponder Jiang Xiaqing's situation. How should he deal with this properly? On one hand, he did not want Jiang Shaoqing to continue account theft. If that gets out, the kid's entire life could be ruined. But on the other hand, the child's desire to help her family was also respectable. To make her stop so suddenly could hurt the entire family. He sighed in despair. Holy sh*t. Zhao Yu slapped his head hard. He did not understand how he, who used to kill people without even batting an eye, had become so worried and emotional over one little girl. At that moment, the miracle system in his head suddenly started up. The system notified him that he had finished his adventure for the day. The completion rate was 87%, and he had earned another award. The reward was even stranger. It was an invisible telescope, able to see anything within 5 kilometers without assistance. It lasted 10 minutes. Zhao Yu sighed softly. The reward the system had given him was another classic specialty product. Does it want me to keep being a detective? Zhao Yu wondered. Zhao Yu had wanted to sleep, but when he looked at the watch, he realized it was almost 1 in the morning. It's already this late? Zhao Yu thought in disbelief. The system had ended so late that it was already a new day. Zhao Yu lit a cigarette without hesitation and, accompanying the violent coughing, started a new adventure quest. Sun Dui hexagram, wind and marsh. Wind is fluid but water is static. Logic is weak, but there will be gains in both riches and relationships. Hearing such difficult and hard-to-digest hexagram explanations, Zhao Yu could not be bothered to remember it and simply closed his eyes and fell asleep. The next morning at 8:30, Jiang Dafeng got the raffle message right on time. As predicted by his daughter, the fat man first excitedly hopped around for a bit, then told Jiang Shaoqing to take care of the shop, and left on his moped. Zhao Yu watched with amazement. Did the fatty have some kind of brain problem? What kind of hospital does Raffles? That level of intelligence was pitiable. After Jiang Dafeng left, Jiang Shaoqing quickly called Zhao Yu downstairs to pretend to be her father at the fruit stand. It was the weekend, so Zhao Yu was resting and Jiang Shaoqing did not need to go to school. So the two sat by the fruit stand, nervously waiting for Mr. Wang's visit. For some reason, Zhao Yu was still a bit nervous, and started reciting the planned speech. Since they had not managed to talk on the phone before, they did not know when Mr. Wang was coming, but that had not stopped Jiang Shaoqing one bit. She had already installed a tracking software on Mr. Wang's phone, so they had known his location for a while. Just as Jiang Dafeng left, Mr. Wang had already arrived at Shunfeng Street. Oh. Mr. Wang? How come you are here? Jiang Shaoqing feigned surprise when she saw her homeroom teacher. Mr. Wang stood in front of the fruit stand and first glanced at Zhao Yu, then muttering, "I couldn't call your father on the phone," and was worried, so. Before Mr. Wang could even finish, Zhao Yu stood up from his seat in one swift motion and rushed in front of Mr. Wang and enthusiastically shook his hand. "Ah, so it's Mr. Wang. Hello, hello, hello to you." Mr. Wang's hand was in pain from Zhao Yu's forceful handshake. His expression was rather awkward, and he was still somewhat traumatized from the incident at the parent conference. Hello. Mr. Wang pulled his hand away with difficulty, and spoke as he scrutinized Zhao Yu. "It's hard to tell, you're so young, but your daughter's already so big." Sometimes, I don't even believe it, Zhao Yu was all smiles. Jiang Shaoqing slapped her head in frustration. Zhao Yu also realized his mistake, and hurriedly picked up a banana. "Here, Mr. Wang, do you want some fruit?" I'm fine. Mr. Wang waved his hand. Actually, I'm here to talk about your child." "Child?" Zhao Yu glared at Jiang Shaoqing. "What's wrong? Did our Shaoqing cause some sort of trouble again?" "Don't worry, I'll take care of her later." Jiang Shaoqing slapped her head again, and could not even raise her head out of shame. "Aw. How could you? How could you hit your child?" Mr. Wang glared at him, his eyes wide. "You see, Shaoqing is our school's star student, you have to protect her. It's almost time for the high school entrance exam. As a parent, you have to take good care of your child." He continued, "The reason I am here is mainly to assess your family's situation. See if there is some difficulty, if..." Yeah. Huge difficulty. So much difficulty." Zhao Yu was a pretty good actor, not even letting Mr. Wang finish his question. He had already started wailing. "Ah. My wife. She has uremia, every day it's examination after examination. We bleed money every day, our life, Jiang Shaoqing nearly buried her head into the ground, and pulled at her own hair in frustration. Mr. Jiang, don't be too emotional, aw. Snot. Be careful of your snot. Mr. Wang watched as Zhao Yu rushed at him with snot and tears all over his face, and retreated quickly. Suddenly a moped pulled up, stopping in front of the fruit stand. A middle-aged woman wearing a sun hat appeared. She waved at Jiang Shaoqing as she spoke, "Shaoqing, hurry and give me 2 watermelons. As long as they're the same size it's fine." As she finished, she turned towards Mr. Wang and Zhao Yu who were currently scuffling. She raised her sun hat, and her expression turned curious. Jiang Shaoqing's heart skipped a bit. She paused a bit before she could answer, "Oh, Mrs. Ma, I'll get it for you now." "Wait!" As she spoke, Jiang Shaoqing hurriedly went to grab her watermelon. Mrs. Ma was one of the regulars at the shop, and was very familiar with Jiang Shaoqing's family. Jiang Shaoqing prayed non-stop, "This is such a bad timing, please don't reveal anything." Shaoqing, Mrs. Ma was unfortunately quite nosy and asked, "What are they doing? Where's your dad?" Even though Mrs. Ma's voice was not loud, everyone had heard her loud and clear. Mr. Wang's brows knitted, and he quickly turned a suspicious eye towards Zhao Yu. Check out LTSTVL on novl/bin.cm. Zhao Yu looked at Mr. Wang, then at Jiang Shaoqing. Jiang Shaoqing also glanced at Mr. Wang, then at Mrs. Ma. In an instant, the atmosphere in the fruit stand thickened, as if the air itself had frozen. It was springtime and the sun was warm, however, in front of Dafengou Fruit Company the atmosphere was freezing cold. Auntie Ma's words had made Mr. Wang highly suspicious, and he looked at Zhao Yu and Jiang Shaoqing with a strange expression. Seeing that their plot was on the verge of being exposed, Zhao Yu suddenly rolled his eyes and stared angrily at Auntie Ma. Like Guan Yu killing people with his long knife, Zhao Yu shouted, "You be *tch. I've finally caught you. How are you gonna escape this time? You swindler!" Jiang Shaoqing quickly played along and rushed toward Auntie Ma. "Oh no, Auntie Ma, my dad's going crazy again." Jiang Shaoqing pointed at Zhao Yu, wanting to let Mr. Wang see that that lunatic was really her dad, that her dad was really ill. Auntie Ma was taken aback. She wanted to say something but Zhao Yu jumped at her and yelled. Baring his fangs and showing his claws, he looked as if he could eat a person alive. Although Mr. Wang was unclear of the situation, he quickly grabbed Zhao Yu when he saw his manic behavior. "Ah!" Jiang Shaoqing hastily rushed toward Auntie Ma and tried to push her away. "Auntie Ma, my dad's condition is getting worse. You'd better leave quick. I'll send the watermelons over later." Get the latest CHDers on n/velbin.com. Auntie Ma felt dizzy. She wanted to ask more questions, but seeing the lunatic Zhao Yu, she was pale with fear and trembling. "Bitch! Thinking of running away." Zhao Yu howled as he pushed Mr. Wang away. "Don't try to stop me, you know you're obstructing public service? I'm a policeman, I'm catching a criminal. Don't stop me." With this, Zhao Yu picked up a few oranges and threw them at Auntie Ma. "Ah!" Auntie Ma shuddered and quickly drove her car away. "The criminal's gotten away. Don't stop me, I'm gonna catch the criminal." To make his performance really convincing, Zhao Yu opened his eyes wide and struggled persistently, making Mr. Wang tired. "Dad, wake up!" Jiang Shaoqing pretended to be helpless as she cried in front of Zhao Yu. "The person that you want to catch has surrendered herself at the police station. Cool down." With this, the young girl went closer to Zhao Yu and stroked his chest. Zhao Yu played along and softened down, his eyes relaxing. Throughout the entire process, he had skillfully imitated a lunatic to perfection. "I'm sorry, Mr. Wang, my dad's condition is getting more serious." Jiang Shaoqing helped Zhao Yu to the chair as she explained to Mr. Wang, he always thinks that he is a police officer, and everyone looks like a criminal to him. Mr. Wang heaved a sigh and felt helpless. After a long pause, he said, Shaoqing, it must be hard on you. It's all right. Jiang Shaoqing pretended to be strong and explained, my uncles have already contacted the hospital, and they will bring my dad there for professional treatment in the next few days. I believe my dad will get better. Tisk, Mr. Wang looked at the lifeless Zhao Yu and sighed. I did not expect your family to be like this. No wonder your father didn't pick up my call. If I had known, I wouldn't have asked him to attend the parent conference. But Shaoqing, no matter how hard it is at home, you cannot neglect your studies. Yes, Mr. Wang, don't worry. Jiang Shaoqing answered like a good girl. I will not disappoint you. Studying is a piece of cake. That's good, that's good. Mr. Wang wiped the sweat off of his forehead and said, I'll get going then. Take good care of your father. He signaled to Zhao Yu. Mr. Wang, you're leaving, do you want to take some fruits along? Zhao Yu stood up suddenly. No need. Get a good rest. I'm leaving. Mr. Wang quickly turned his head and left the fruit store in a fluster. Goodbye, Mr. Wang. Jiang Shaoqing waved respectfully at her teacher. After Mr. Wang disappeared at the end of Shunfeng Street, Jiang Shaoqing stooped down in exhaustion, putting her hands on her knees. Zhao Yu also let out a long breath. He was soaked in sweat. Officer Zhao, the young girl panted, it's really soul-stirring to work with you. I was almost scared to death. Just now, I thought we were doomed. Zhao Yu's lips were dry, the fear was still lingering. He had never felt that nervous, even when he was catching the culprit in the graveyard. Holy sh*t. Zhao Yu patted his chest and sighed, we almost got caught. Luckily, I was quick-witted. Huh? Zhao Yu raised his head and suddenly saw a group of people running over from the other side of Shunfeng Street. The one leading the group was Auntie Ma, whom Zhao Yu had frightened off earlier. Shrewd as he was, Zhao Yu knew that the people were coming to handle him. He quickly slipped into the alley. Shaoqing, are you okay? Right after Zhao Yu disappeared, Auntie Ma reached the fruit stall hastily and asked loudly, where are those two lunatics? Where have they gone to? He dared to call me AB*TCH. I'm gonna kill him today. Behind Auntie Ma were a few old neighbors of Shunfeng Street. They looked awe-inspiring with their brooms and hammers in hand, all there to back Auntie Ma up. What are you talking about, Auntie Ma? What lunatic? I don't understand. Jiang Shaoqing acted as if nothing had happened as she weighed the watermelon. Huh? Auntie Ma was taken aback. Are you sure? Shaoqing, were my eyes playing a trick on me, or is there something wrong with you? Where are they? The lunatic? He even threw oranges at me. And said he's a, what, policeman? What are you talking about? Jiang Shaoqing handed over the watermelon to Auntie Ma and said smilingly, total 42 yuan, 40 will do. Ah. Auntie Ma pouted, and the neighbors looked at each other in consternation. By that time, Zhao Yu had already reached the intersection of Shunfeng Street. Although it had been a thrilling process, he had finally resolved Jiang Shaoqing's issue and lifted a huge burden off of his shoulders. He felt relieved and started whistling a light-hearted tune again. However, just as he stepped out of the intersection, a white Subaru honked and stopped in front of him, blocking his way. The driver lowered the window of the passenger side, and Zhao Yu saw that the driver was actually Chu Ping. Team leader Chu sat firmly in the driver's seat and curled her finger at Zhao Yu as she said bluntly, Get in. Quick! That's all for this part, truckers. See you all in next video.